Alright, I am back, I hope. Alright, now everyone's probably disappeared now. Sorry about that for anybody who is still watching and still waiting. Hopefully this is going to be a little bit better. That hard crashed big time on my end. That just completely took out my entire PC. I'm not entirely sure what happened there. Anyways, we are live and back again. I'm getting an excellent connection now, although I've dropped a couple of frames. I'm hoping this is not going to be too bad. Oh, we'll play through and we'll see how this goes. We have had to revert back to here. So I'm just going to quickly go through exactly the same options we went through before. Let's Rogue Trader's Heirs. Then we went... Why have I been brought here? Goal in mind, and that should get us back to where we were. Cool. Now I'm actually going to save that so we don't have to do that again. So we will save game. Right. And Mags, have you ever considered the game Re-Entry Orbital Simulator? I've seen it. I've had a look. I haven't played it. I've considered it, but just haven't been too interested, or just haven't had the time up until this point. As I understand, there's parts of it that are still fairly in heavy development. Alright. Hopefully this is running well now, guys.
Follow my lead.
I'm hoping the smoothness is okay now. Or at least it's watchable and it's not a slideshow. Seem to be mostly green on frames.
It's about time.
Yeah, getting a little red every now and again. Yeah, my connection... We'll take this a little bit further. We'll see if we can play through, and we'll do this fight. Hopefully this works and I don't have to give up. I'm going to be really disappointed if my net's just crapped out on a game like this.
Annihilate them.
Alright, let's start the battle. Much better. Alright. That's good to hear. It's only 720p, but I'm going to have to sacrifice 1080 to the NBN gods from the looks of it. Alright. That's going to be really annoying. Part of my screen is off for some reason. I'm not sure why. I think it's because of the mode I'm in. I'm not even sure what weapon I'm equipped with at the moment, but that was a miss regardless. What do I actually have? And I'm not going to get a pop-up on it until I'm out of combat. That's fine. Occasional drops, but there's at least movement between them. Yeah, that's an improvement. Yeah, it looks like my net's just decided to tell me to eat one tonight. Alright, so returning back to where we were before. What suspiciously poor timing for such an incident. A wild beast breaks free on the officer's deck exactly the same moment when the rogue trader and her heirs are gathered here. Without taking his eyes off the dead beast, Voltavia removes the Voxcaster. The Master of Whispers removes his Voxcaster from his belt and speaks a few orders into the device. He then turns to you. I've blocked all passages between the upper and lower sectors of the residential decks. If this is a deliberate attack, it should stop the culprits from advancing their plan. The NBN eats babies, I mean bandwidth, it's the dingo of Australian internet. Yeah. I apparently haven't been burning enough incense and praying to the Omnisire enough to keep the internet connection up and running. Alright, the lines on Vodka's forehead soften and the voice regains its usual courtesy. I'm afraid I must remain here, Lazarus. For Lady Theodora's safety, I have to oversee the execution of these orders personally. I hope you'll have no difficulty reaching the observation platform on your own. It's just at the end of this corridor. Cool, so again we get a little bit of stuff we can explore here. Just gives us a little bit of flavour pop-ups for various items that the Lord Captain keeps aboard her ship. A black shard that resembles obsidian. If you look closely, you can discern a strange, barely perceptible glow inside the artifact. Anything that pops off, you have got a button over here, so you have a scrollable log to get additional information. And that's what you get for not offering enough barrels to Johnny Boy. A massive golden amalgam, interspread with sparkling particles. And it's the same thing, it's just small items. A stone on the pedestal is no doubt solid, but its surface shimmers and changes hue as if someone captured a piece of choppy sea.
I won't tolerate weakness.
Just strange artifacts that the rogue trader likes to keep. Your Grace, not to worry, all the threats have been eliminated, it's absolutely safe here. Cool, well we will advance.
A new challenge for me?
They got the aesthetic right too. You'll notice the ship itself, as you roll it through, I'm not sure how well it'll come through on 1080p, but you'll see the deck, it's reflective but tarnished, like it's old. Nothing, there's signs of corrosion and wear on every surface. Like everything is just ancient. The entire ship, the walking areas, you've got these overlaid carpets, and sometimes the carpets themselves aren't flat or they look worn. You'll see small sections of blood stains on them or boot markings where things are just worn out as you go through. Not to mention you'll see on the candles, so you've got the candles around the deck, some of them you'll actually see wax, like little pools of wax. The lifts carrying people around the decks. Remember, at the moment, we're not inside a castle on the ground, by the way. This is the inside of a relatively small ship in the Warhammer 40k universe. And we can't progress much further than that. Looks like something got smashed and broken over this end.
None shall stand in my way.
That's right, we will go back this way. Message retracted. Okay. And we have servitors getting maintenance done. Gonna have to have another war against emus to get better net.
It's about time.
Unfortunately, I'm not even sure that'll help me out here at the moment. I think I'm going to end up at some point having to have a second swing at Starlink. It wasn't suitable last time, but once they make some improvements, we'll have to make another crack at it. I think that's going to be my only option, in truth. I've checked some of the rollout plans for my area. I will not get an in-cable internet connection into this area. Even they looked like they were going to correct some of that after the last election, but that's not going to be a thing. And we are, I think, the last place in Victoria that is listed to get the 5G rollout. So I might be able to get access to 5G internet, which will sort this problem out. Maybe sometime after 2030. It's a 10-year rollout plan, and it's still only just begun over the last 2 years. So, yeah, 8 years, maybe 9, somewhere in there. Not in any time that's going to be useful to me, but then again, it never is. So, yeah, I might have to give Elon Musk's space internet a second swing at some point. Just wait for him to get the rest of the shells up and see whether or not that corrects the issues that I was having with it last time. On the upside, it's gotten cheaper in Australia. The actual, I was looking into the prices on it. It's actually significantly cheaper to get the dishes and stuff out here now. So, the second attempt will be better. I'd like a third option, but I'm not going to get one. Anyways, this is simply irrational, Lady Theoria. The man dressed in a particular garb, his voice tight with tension, his face, half of which is covered in synth skin, is twisted into a grimace of displeasure and disbelief. Assimilation into the trade structure would be political and economic suicide, practically an admission to heresy. Theodora, a tall grey-haired woman, pins him with a gaze, her cybernetic eye flashing crimson. Then I suggest an alternative that will satisfy me. I've been described the situation, no worse than my Sensual could have done. Make a decision. What will you do with Alon 4? Let's survey the room. Your first impression of Alrad, who appears to be about 30 years old, is of parchment-like skin stretched over a tightly bundled mass of sinew, implants, and bone. The nervously twitching figure of his face is twisted by a slight tie, and the jerky movements are all signs of some illness or defect that has taken over his physical form. In stark contrast to Adelthrad, I think it is, Theodora von Valancius' features appear as if they were carved from marble, eternal and indestructible. Head raised high, proud posture, hands clasped casually behind her back. Everything seems to emphasize the difference in status between her and Adelthrad. Behind the two of them you see two more men. One is a grey-haired officer with impeccable bearing who is studying the context of a data slate. The other is a behemoth bristling with blasters, boulderies containing all manner of weapons. Theodoria, our second candidate, has joined us. The dry female voice and powerful feeling of being watched force you to look at Theodoria. The rogue trader is looking straight at you, and her gaze, like herself, is predatory and oppressive. Lazarus, approach and give me your answer. Consider this hypothetical situation. Aeon 6. A new world on the fringes of the Coronis expanse. High seismic activity, regular magma eruptions, metaphoric rock deposits, prospects for large-scale mining. The world is populated by natives who worship some heretical underworld spirits that protect those who offer them sacrifices. Flights of fantasy, you may say, but attempts to install ore extractors have failed for a second time. The mining crews sent to the planet's surface simply vanished overnight. My question to you is, what would you do with this poisoned treasure? So, Law Warp. Looks like we've already succeeded this, so we have it as an option. There are ways to confer whether or not what is happening on AM4 is witchcraft or not. You might cost several psychers to do so, but it will give us an answer. I'm a former commissar. I would continue sending more people, one crew after another, until somebody succeeded in their service to humanity and the conquest of Aeon 6. These reports of spirits certainly sound like evidence of heresy, however I would put my interests first. No matter what means I would have to use the riches of Aeon 6 would be mine. Aeon 6 would be purged for the good of the Imperium. I would exterminate the heretical beliefs and otherworldly powers that rule the native apostates. Or 5, I do not know. 2, I am a former commissar. Or should we purge the planet? What would be your option, chat? Yes, while we're waiting for a response to that, yes, Somerset, I don't want to mess with anything anywhere else at the moment. I don't know what happened, but when I stopped the stream and restarted it, it crashed the whole PC. That's why it took a little bit longer to get everything fired back up. So, yeah, that wasn't great. Somerset Houseskull comes in 4. We must purge the planet. You know what? I like the way you think. Alright, Theodoria. Theodoria's expression sours. Another one. I suppose your answer is strictly correct, but not here. Not on the frontier. Not when we were playing for such high stakes. Well, she didn't like that one. I should probably point out, different branches and different starting stats will actually give you different chat options and different backgrounds. So the character that I've played through so far, which I might give you a little bit of a glimpse of towards the end, and some of the retinue that she has, that character was Astra Militarum, so Imperial Guard. from a forged world that gave an implant, one of the incomplete backgrounds that had gave it an implant that gave a subdermal armor. Was the one I picked out for that one. And I had a couple of different options on this chat, and I suspect that will be the same the whole way through the game. This points to the replayability they're going for here, much like the Pathfinder games that they've developed that Owlcats developed previously. Depending on what options you select in the character creation will change some of the available options and some of the available bonuses that you can roll on to get different results on different parts of the chats for the entirety of the game. So whole sections of quests might play out differently depending on what your background is, what your character is, and also the inclinations of your character. Is your character focused on like a real fanatic Imperial, or are you a little bit more of a heretic? Will also vary some of the chat options as well. So you'll be able to play through this multiple times and have completely different outcomes on how you get through sections of the game. Edelrad smiles faintly. Lady Theodoria, your appointment puzzles me. I gave you the same answer from the off, a more complete and compelling form of the God Emperor's tenets. Theodora's tone renders him silent. I believe I gave you an assignment on this ship. Explain to me then why my senior cognigator is still dawdling about the officer's deck instead of proceeding to the middle decks to commence the inspection of the compartments for his purview. I beg your forgiveness, Lady Theodoria. Your presence is such a profound effect on me that I will forget the time. Althared bows ceremoniously and takes leave without sparing you another look. So yeah, the result I got on my first playthrough, she liked, he hated me for. Theodora's gaze follows him as he leaves, and then she turns to you. So, Lazarus, why are you here? I do not know yet. I hope you will clarify that. Theodora smiles wearily. Clarity, a luxury few of us can afford. There is a reason why I did not explain all the details of the question I posed to you earlier. Beyond the borders of the Imperium, seldom is one granted the opportunity to enjoy information in abundance. This, however, is one such opportunity. My name is Theodoria von Valancius Massimo of Scaris. I am a rogue trader in service of the God Emperor of Humanity, and my rights and freedoms are vindicated by the most sacred relic, the Warrant of Trade, kept aboard this very vessel. Mine is the honor to venture into the darkness beyond the Imperium, and carry humanity's light where powers wicked and heretical reign and bode death and ruin for us all. It is my decision alone to determine the fate of whatever I find past the bounds of explored void. Every world I discover, along with all those to find thereon, resources, people, riches, and mysteries, are mine by right. I command millions of lives, rule over numerous planets, and possess fortunes that no planetary governor or commander could dream of amassing. And you, Lazarus, are one of those with the von Valancius blood in their veins and a rightful claim to this inheritance when the hour comes. So I'm ready to take on this sacred purpose. It's all too sudden for me. One of. Does that mean there are other heirs? We'll go with that one. Naturally, some are yet to arrive on board, but you have had the pleasure of meeting one of them. Althared may be somewhat disconcerted by the scale of the responsibilities that may potentially fall on his shoulders. However, I have a good feeling about him as a candidate. Blood right alone is not enough to earn the honour of becoming bearer of the Warrant of Trade. Nevertheless, your abilities and talents may yet prove useful, if not in the role of Lord Captain, then as that of their closest ally. Theodoria sighs and looks away pensively for a brief moment. Alas, even those responsibilities can at times be too challenging for those who share your blood. Conrad Volga served me for many years before he made his mistake. There is going to be a lot of reading in this, guys, and I'm going to mess up a lot. Is the rogue trader a heretic? No to purge? Oh, call the Inquisition. Well, here's the small thing, Somerset. Rogue traders are ranked above the Inquisition. Technically, the Inquisition cannot purge a rogue trader. Yeah, small problem. That's why they can get away with some shit. They are technically the only people that rank above a rogue trader because of essentially the position that was granted them by the Emperor himself. The writ of trade, which gives a rogue trader his power, was written by the Emperor himself on a giant scroll in his own blood. The only people that can sort of go above a rogue trader, like on the direct power scale, would be the Primarchs, the Emperor, and the shit. I'm having a massive brain block on what they're called again. The Emperor's personal guard. The starts with C. Yeah, I'm missing the name. My brain's turning off. I'm turning into a God, it's 12:35 and I'm already turning into a pumpkin. This is no good. Yeah, can't remember their names. But anyways, they are the only ones. There are only really 3 groups that can stand over a rogue trader directly. Now, that's not to say a rogue trader can't be challenged, but they can't just walk in and take over a rogue trader. Custodes, that's the one. No, even the High Lords. Even the High Lords of Terror cannot revoke the powers granted to a rogue trader, because the High Lords of Terror were only established after the Emperor was interred on the Golden Throne. The only people that actually have a right and rank above that of a rogue trader, because the rogue traders were given their power by the Emperor directly, are those that were also given their position by the Emperor directly. So anybody or any faction that was created after the Emperor was interred in the Golden Throne ranks below the rogue traders, and that is the Ecclesiarchy, the Inquisition, the Astra Militarum, everybody. Every single faction that exists outside of the Astartes, the Custodes, and the Emperor himself rank below the rogue traders as a result. Which is what makes them such an interesting character to play. They can get away with straight up heresy, and the Inquisition can't technically do shit. There's nothing they can do about it. They do have other things they could do, like the Inquisition could just say, order the purging of all of the rogue traders' worlds, while the rogue trader was busy with something else, and then claim that there was heretics on those worlds, but they can't actually overrule the rogue trader themselves. They need to go to a rank above them in order to be able to do so. Alright, so our options here. If you're satisfied with Altherad, then what's the sense of us having this conversation? Why are you wasting your time with me? Did I hear you correctly? The Master of Whispers is related to you. Thank you for clarifying. May I ask my questions now? Did I hear you correctly? The Master of Whispers is related to you. Theodora. His kinship to me is most distant, as is yours. Nevertheless, it does bear the name von Volantis, and even if he avoids using it publicly, and as such, strictly speaking, can be considered my heir. That door, however, is closed to him. The Master of Whispers' performance in his current role is satisfactory, or it used to be at least. If you're satisfied with Altherad, then what's the sense of me having this conversation? Why are you wasting your time on me? Theodora shakes her head. Impatience. I'm rather fond of impatient people. They're not as quick to rein themselves into circumstance and more eager to show initiative. Even so, even if I do choose Altherad as my successor, I will require loyal advisors. The skills and knowledge you required from your former life may prove invaluable here in the Cronus Expanse. Once you were a commissar in the Imperial Guard, a political officer who was not afraid to face his own death or send his underlings to theirs. Resolve, faith, implacability, all of these give one a unique perspective when presented with a situation where a less steadfast individual could falter. Trust me, your future holds plenty of situations where your commitment to your duty or to your house's interest will be one of your strengths. I thank you for clarifying. May I ask my questions now? The Vox affixed to Theodora's attire suddenly comes to life, but all you can hear is unintelligible noise. Theodora winces, shuts off the transmission, and gives you an imperious nod. I have some time before the navigator gives a signal for us to initiate the void ship's transition out of the warp, and my presence is required on the bridge. Alright, so an incident took place on the officer's deck. A wild beast was roaming free and attacking everyone we ran into. Where is your ship headed? What is my current responsibilities? That one sounds too much like gracious Lord Captain, surely there are ways I can prove myself a worthy heir. That sounds too much like begging. That's not something we would do. What are my current responsibilities? Observe, learn, absorb. It will take time for you to find your bearings aboard this vessel and even in your new position. Eventually, I will find a post that suits you as I did for Eltharad. Until the time comes, consider yourself my aide. An incident took place on the officer's deck. A wild beast was roaming free and attacking anyone it ran into. Is that so? I do keep a number of pets, native ones to my planets, on the officer's deck. Perhaps someone was careless during feeding time, or it could be the warp playing tricks on us in spite of the Gellerfield, or perhaps our possessed ship was in the mood for a lark. Theodora laughs nonchalantly. The grey-haired officer gives the rogue trader a look of cautious disapproval. Lady Theodora, for the God Emperor's sake, surely you do not intend to start repeating idle rumours spread by the uneducated riffraff. Enough, Alballard. Such heresy amuses me. Or such hearsay amuses me, rather, although I imagine heresy would amuse her as well. Iridia regularly retells everything she learns from the whispers of her unseen advisors. She turns to you. This ship is thousands of years old. It has enough hidden nooks and malfunctioning cogitators and unused compartments to make ignorant folks speak of spectres dwelling inside the bulkheads and plotting against those who yet live. Where is the ship headed? The Reichhead system, the domain of rogue trader Winterscale, one of my peers and rivals. Only 3 rogue traders exist in the Coronis Expanse, and each of them possesses resources comparable to mine. Perhaps you will one day assist House von Volantis in surpassing both of them in influence and splendour. I set a course for Reichhead on the demand. Theodora grimaces as she gives you a stern look and then shrugs. For a very specific reason. Perhaps I shall yet appraise you of the purpose of this voyage, but now is not the time. I have no more questions. We'll move on from this. In that case, I shall head too. Theodora's Vox awakens once more. This time you pick up shouting. The Lord Captain freezes, listening to the Vox cast, then nods and draws her weapon. Disturbances reported on adjacent decks. Sanchal, if the need arises, protect the new blood. She glances at you. It is possible that the chance to prove your worth may present itself sooner than you have anticipated. Dun dun dun. Hey, Space Viking, how's it going, mate? Okay, we will start the battle. Now, the battle we will see more of as we get more control later on, but we do get the option to do a stage 0, where we can actually reposition our people within a certain range depending on where we start. But since we are not yet in charge, for the moment, we are only playing ourselves and everything else is automated.
Reduced to dust. One fewer time.
And he's got a melter.
Just a minor setback.
Alright, our turn. So we got 2 on high. We'll get into cover on the side. And we only have a pistol at the moment. I don't believe... No. We don't have a melee weapon yet, which sucks because our abilities are better there. So fire a shot back, 54% chance to hit, 7 to 10 damage. Character is not in cover.
Not a problem for me.
And we can't shoot for shit. Not surprising. we will have to work on those skills. And our charge is useless without a melee weapon. Let's give them Hell. Cost 1 AP. The next commander's single shot or single target attack applies the following effects. Target enemy becomes marked. The ally who killed the marked enemy gains an additional turn after the current one with +2 and +4 MP. Targeted ally and all allies gain additional 1 AP and 3 MP for the next round. Okay, that's really useful. We should have used that this turn. Although it's more useful if we have actually got control over all of the characters involved, so we can use it to set up traps. And then you can hit them with the sword. Yes, we will find a sword as quickly as we can so we can hit them with the sword. Or we will find a chain sword. That will work. We can also find a power sword. Although most of those are aimed at sort of being used by psychers. Some of their damage is related to the psychic level the character has available. Although I did find one on my save. It is a power broadsword, like a full-on, 5-6 foot long, wide-handled broadsword with a power field on it, and it's not actually attached to psi ability. So I've got that on one of my melee characters, and it destroys everything. It's great. There's some really cool weapons in this. And some ridiculously overpowered abilities. Well, that will get us an angle. That won't. So we get the small line here that gives us an indication of our line of sight. So, move up. For the most part, this doesn't play a whole lot different to XCOM in the way the combat lays out. If you're used to playing turn-based tactics games... Hey! We actually hit something. If you're used to turn-based tactics games, this plays pretty much the same. The bonuses run out a little bit differently. The way the abilities in Rogue Trader work, and that's all we can do for this turn, they stack bonuses. It's a little odd to play with. As I understand it, I haven't actually played the Rogue Trader RPG, the tabletop. Well, it's not tabletop, the pen and paper. But as I understand it, a lot of the systems are transferred over, which is why these seems to be a little bit of jank. It hasn't been completely refined yet. But you have abilities which increase your combat level, and different abilities will stack, and then you can trade... using those abilities, trade bonuses to the next person in the attack sequence who then can take advantage of them. If you play it right, you can stack bonuses in particular orders where you can let certain characters just go berserk and they will destroy everything. On my main save at the moment, I have a Sister of Battle with a bolter, and you pop a couple abilities off in the first turn and you get into the second turn and she will murder everything on the screen. She has no chill. It's great. And the more powerful and higher level your characters get, the more brutal and powerful the animations get as well. So the bolter starts off as kind of a heavy machine gun, but by the time you hit level 30, the bolter is just death singing. Theodora waves her hand at the in a commanding gesture. Mort, take a team with you and clear a path for the transport line. Do not let a single Horsun survive. The Rogue Trader turns her eyes to you. Didn't bat an eye when that scum burst onto the deck. Not bad. I've seen many an officer who panicked at the sight of combat on the upper decks. The false sense of security makes them that much more susceptible to the harsh realities of warp transitions. She looks at the Vox in her hand. All you can hear is lifeless static. The incident on the Beast on the officer's deck may have been connected to what's transpiring now. Being a commissar, I'm going to try and play him like an investigator or a cop, a holy police officer or enforcer, almost like an inquisitor, I guess. We'll go sort of that route a little bit, I think. Possibly, quite likely. Theodora winces and flicks a switch on her Vox a few times. We will investigate at a later time. Right now we need to isolate the affected compartments and try to assess the situation. What are your orders? She breaks eye contact with you. Mort has gone ahead to clear a path for us. If you want to make yourself useful, go after him and see if the arch militant requires aid, and be quick about it. Cool. Now, can we actually get any loot? I can't recall. No, nothing lootable in here. Unfortunate. We might have been able to get a melee weapon. Although considering... yeah. So I think we're going to go around this way. I briefly gave Ricardo a Thunder Hammer before giving it to the Battle Nun. No, my Battle Nun, I actually managed to find an upgraded bolter, which has slightly higher damage and has a modifier on it that on crit does double damage on automatic fire and has a higher hit rate. I think it's a plus 25% hit rate. It's the only bolter upgrade I found for her. She has a bolt pistol and a chainsword, a officer's chainsword as a secondary, and you sort of just let her shoot and pop a couple of her first abilities on her first round, and you let everybody else in your group pop off all of their abilities and all of the hunter abilities that you have and all the assassin abilities that you have, bonusing out all of the characters either directly onto her or onto all of the targets that are on the map. And when her second turn comes around, she hits a target and fucking everything just starts dying. It's absurd. Did you manage to find the plasma gun before you ran into your first cornflake? I only found plasma guns. I think I found my first plasma gun at around level 20, but I had a plasma pistol and a basic melter before I finished the tutorial section, the first tutorial planet. The actual plasma gun itself took the plasma rifle rather, took a little bit longer to find. And my character being Astra Militarum, playing Imperial Guard, used a long las, because anything else would be inappropriate for a member of the Imperial Guard. Giving my battle sister a flamer and then the melter, I think you'll change your mind when you get to see the auto fire on the bolter. Although I'm really interested in trying to find that Space Marine, because he's got... I have confirmed in the files there is two different types of bolters. The bolter that she has and the bolter that he has are not the same thing. There is a significant difference between the two. She gets the already oversized, I guess, 20mm bolter. That's the one that you can sort of carry as a regular human. He gets the big boy one. So I want to see what happens when I've got access to him, because with what I've seen her do so far, he's just going to murder everything. Conrad Vogel lets out a sigh of relief upon seeing you. Thanks, Providence, you are alive and well. Always on time, our Conrad. The moment we finish the riffraff around the deck, you show up. Always after fighting's done. You could set your chrono by it. Conrad pointedly looks away from the arch-militant to you. Mort, pull yourself together. The arch-militant looks back at you. What did the Lord Captain send you to chivvy us along? We're all done here. I'll report right away. Mort pulls his Vox from his belt and hurriedly reports the situation. Reminds me of the rather brutal death animations you can get in Fallout 1 and 2. Yes. And they get pretty brutal in this the whole way through. There is a shitload of gore in this, as you would expect, considering that every single aspect of chaos is absolutely involved. I don't want to give too many spoilers on exactly where my characters are up to at the moment, but I'm in places that are not good to be in as a non-immortal in the 40k universe, is where I'm at the moment. Don't want to say much more than that. We're not going to spoil stuff here, it's only the beta. I want to save things. Shit gets wild. Master of Whispers, what's happening on my ship? The Vox net is silent, the Vox Master is not responding, armed assailants have stormed the officer's deck, and my arch-militant just destroyed several more heretics on the way here. This is a severe case of warp madness. Have some of my crew lost their minds and forgotten who they are and whom they serve? Report. Master of Whispers, I have not yet received word from the Enigmarium regarding any Gellerfield failures. Enigarium. Regarding any Gellerfield failures, but communications were already unstable half an hour ago, and now they have ceased altogether. Whatever the cause may be, from the consequences are spreading fast. I'm receiving scattered reports from the middle decks, and only voxcasts from the lower bays, and one-way heretical gibberish. That the madman has already breached the officer's deck suggests that this outrage was planned in advance. Perhaps this is an organised mutiny. Mutiny? But who would attempt a mutiny here in the warp? Lunatics, fools, heretics. This ship houses thousands upon thousands of people. Pernicious thoughts and warp-induced delusions could have tainted any one of them. It's a difficult notion to accept, but such risks are inescapable. First, we have to confirm that the bridge and the navigator's sanctum are secure, and I have the means to do both things at once. Her expression changes as her eyes flash ominously. Theodora looks at Voltigir. Althraid, where is he? I must know he is unharmed. A psyker aboard a ship that is potentially being assailed by the warp could pose a greater threat to himself and others than a whole army of madmen with improvised weapons. I tried to locate him, but the last thing known about his movements was that he arrived on Transitional Deck 18. Blast it. Master of Whispers, find Althraid immediately. Sensual, locate Tlas and the Sister of Battle. Both are to remain at my side. Arch-militant with me. We must go to my study, and it appears we might encounter heretics along the way. Lazarus. Theodora glances at you thoughtfully. If I may, Lord Captain. Voltigir or whatever's. Voice is soft and cautious. Transitional Deck 18 is at the heart of the disturbance, and our goal is to bring Althraid back. I could use some support. After all, I'm not an adept at directly confronting enemies of the House of the esteemed Arch-Militant, is taking into consideration Althraid's psychic powers. Alright, so we will go with him. Then it's settled. Lazarus, Althraid, and return here. In any state, this elevator, she points at the massive doors, leads to a restricted compartment, such as my personal chambers and the bridge. Do not let me down. I require you both. Do you understand? I hear and obey, Lord Captain. I shall do everything in my power. I cannot promise that I won't lose our dearest heir somewhere along the way. I'll do everything in my power. I don't really want to bow to her yet. I shall do everything in my power. Theodora hisses in fury. Not everything in your power. You will do as I say. I have your heads if you fail. Is that clear? Then move out. God, she's a pissy bitch. Mort, come. God, it's like having to negotiate with my ex. Voltivir gives you a nod. Are you ready to head to 18? It's a long walk and you do not even have proper gear. I shall make do lead the way. Of course you will. He rummages in his pocket for something. Lady Theodora would never have someone she couldn't rely on as one of her heirs, but that is no longer relevant. With a pop and a sharp crackle, something hits you in the abdomen and you are consumed by unbearable gut-wrenching pain. Dun dun dun. Demon possessions and warp travel are fun. Space Viking. Okay. I played through a bit of this starting section to complete the tutorial, and it's actually getting late, so then I might jump into one of my... I'll be a bit selective, but jump into one of my save games. Not the current one I'm on. I don't want to do any story spoilers, and I'm right in the middle of a very story-heavy section of the game. But I'll jump into one of my older save games, and I'll actually show you how the warp travel system works. You can absolutely have warp incursions on your ship going between routes. Like, that is absolutely a thing in this. And you have to make choices which can lead to warp incursions. Careful, careful, be gentle with our guest. He has an important mission to complete during our visit to the warrant chamber. And for that, I need him breathing. Voltigir looks down at you. You're back with us, I see. Delightful. You two-faced scum, you're the one behind the mayhem. How perceptive of you, Lazarus. I'll help you with the next insight. I need you here for your blood. You have the option to share it voluntarily, or I will squeeze it out of you myself. We are at the anteroom to the warrant chamber, this void ship's most hallowed vault. There beyond those gates lies a relic that gives Theodora all of her power, the sacred warrant of trade. Only one obstacle remains in my path to obtaining it. The gates to the chamber are guarded by a sentinel, an ancient device that will only open the door for a true heir of the dynasty. I expected to do this part myself, but never mind. You will offer your blood to the sentinel. And why are you doing this? What is it inbred? Is your blood too thin for the sentinel? I have no intention of helping you. I will help you as long as you spare my life. Will you let me join you? We can take the warrant of trade from Theodora together. I kinda like the option of calling him inbred, so we'll go with that. On the contrary, the warp's blessing has raised me too much above your kind, Von Volantis. The sentinel refused to submit to me, but you can help. After all, isn't that what family is for? I have no intention of helping you. I'm afraid that you, Lazarus Von Volantius, have no choice in the matter. Voltivir produces a strange object, a blade without a handle that shimmers in the blue light. Try to resist and I will demonstrate the power the warp holds over mortals. Come to think of it, I might even take some pleasure in doing so. To the void with you. The blade flashes in the dim light and drops of blood appear on your palm. For a brief moment you feel nauseous, your head spinning, and then quiet whispers begin to flood your mind. More and more sourceless voices echo against each other, drowning out your own thoughts, replacing them with a singular urge to go to the gate, to go to the gate, to go to the gate. So, willpower 30. We have a 60% chance of completing this particular challenge. We can fight the voice in our head. Get out, I'm not your puppet. I will do as you require, but I will find a way to make you pay for this filth, or enough of your threats I'll comply with your demands. We're going to fight, of course. We'll roll the dice, 60%. Not quite a coin flip, but pretty close. Hey, we got it. Willpower check succeeded. The voices in your head persist through their demands, and yet you feel an unseen chorus momentarily waver over the strength of your resolve, until the intruding influence forces you to your feet and pushes you forward, the gates looming in the center of the chamber. I actually failed that the first time I did it. In the gateway you see a cogitator with a human likeness built into the front panel. As you approach, the torso twitches slightly. This is a servitor, an obedient automation created from a lobotomized human being. The sentinel turns its head to you, one of its eye sockets lighting up with two ember-like irises. Tech use 30, examine the device. We have a 55% chance to succeed in that one. We can look back or look for anything you could use as a weapon. We'll roll on checking out the device first and see what we can get. Tech use check failed. You look over the gate cogitator. There is little chance that you'll be able to discern anything about its design. Like any other sacred machine in the Imperium, this relic is a specialty of the machine cult of the Adeptus Mechanicus. The servitor on the gate begins to move with a screeching and groaning of metal. It leans forward closer to you. Its lower jaw opens with a drawn-out shriek, much wider than the jaw of a living human being could. The servitor's mouth is filled with sharp metallic fangs that glint in the dim light. The vid screen to the right of you lights up, showing strings of mysterious symbols on the screen on here. on the green background. As I stumble over my own tongue, my apologies. A whisper runs through your consciousness, insisting, demanding sacrifice. The voices that filled your head after Voltavir wounded you with the blade did not go away. On the contrary, their source has coiled itself in a tight knot somewhere in the depths of your mind. Examine the Sentinel, place your hand in the Sentinel's maw, look back, look for anything that can be used as a weapon. You look around in hopes of finding at least something that could work as a weapon. Your search is in vain. The chamber anteroom is completely empty and in perfect working condition. Nary a broken panel or a protruding piece of rebar in sight. Examine the Sentinel. The servitor looks noticeably different than the ones you've seen, the ones that you're used to. Copper thread stitches its skin. The joints are replaced by metal hinges. It seems that the creators of the Sentinel did anything that could did everything so that the result of their work would serve much longer than ordinary working automations. Place your hand into the Sentinel's maw. The Sentinel's jaws clamp around your hand, puncturing the skin and sinking into your flesh. A few dark drops fall onto the servitor's throat, and immediately you hear humming as the servo motors start up and the pumps stir into motion. The vid screen of the cogitator flickers. Several long minutes pass, the Sentinel's jaws remain closed, and you are beginning to feel sick. Perhaps if you were to lean against the gate, you could catch your breath, maybe even close your eyes and pretend none of this ever. High levels of caustic humours. The subject is in a state of heightened stress. Do you require assistance? You do not understand where the quiet voice coming from, crackling like static. Is it the Sentinel, the cogitator? Is it a filament of your wary mind? Whichever it is, you can clearly hear every word. Who is this? You hear the voice again, and this time you realise it's coming from the two speakers built into the Sentinel's shoulders. Genetic code identified, child of House von Volantis. Do you require assistance? You hear a displeased grunt in your mind, as if the lurking entity has sensed something that is not to your liking. Yes, Sentinel, traitors threaten my life and the safety of the warrant. Pain shoots through your head and subsides as quickly as it would seem. The entity coiled in your consciousness does not have the ability to do you any real harm. Request accepted. Initiating defense protocol. Because of course the warrant room would have anti-tank guns and flamethrowers. Check the warrant chamber. The warrant chamber has opened its doors to the Dynasty air. It's time to make sure the warrant is safe. Well, somebody did ask in chat before for me to get the heavy flamer. Was that enough? A couple of interaction points. Enormous gates match the importance of the thing they protect. The massive doors are made of, and we can bring it up over here, heavy metal and look impregnable.
It's about time.
And ladies and gentlemen, the warrant of trade. It's bigger than you might have imagined. Now remember, according to the law, all of this is written in the Emperor's own blood by his own hand. I'm not sure how long it took him to write these. Before I continue to the next part, I'll do a bit of a read in chat. To be fair, there's a mutiny happening on the ship. I'd be a bit peeved too. Yes. Conrad was a traitor? Never. The Sister of Battle thickens? I think she's pretty thick as it is. Most of them are. I've seen enough heresy to know where this is going. A little Slaanesh never hurt anybody. Yeah, that is a really cool scene with the cogitator just activating everything. It's great. Just lightly defended then. What size do you need the sculpture to be? Imperial. It may have been slightly lightheaded when he got to the end. Yeah, that's my opinion as well. What I'm more curious about is seeing the size of this thing. Exactly how did our traitorous friend plan to steal it? I'm not even sure how you would detach it from the device it's inside of, let alone take it. You know, without a bus, maybe. At least a flatbed truck. But it's still pretty cool. The art, as I said, again, you see art design here. It is... I wish you could see it in the resolution that I'm seeing at. I'm sorry that the net connection is not allowing it, because this is nicely done. Owlcat, beautiful work. Alright. Let it be known that by my will and by the true words of this document, I appoint the person to be the bearer of the warrant of trade, and this is where it reads through too fast. So it's reading off the bottom lines of the warrant of trade there. Alright. Vox Skull. The servo skull's creaking gradually turns into comprehensible words. Escort the child of the house to safety. What madness is happening here? Who are you? Who addresses me? Vox Skull. Temporary obnulation following acute stress. Mobile unit to the warrant sentinel standing by. Are you the warrant sentinel? Vox Skull, mobile unit of the warrant sentinel designed as a personal escort of the child of the house and a means of communicating with the rogue trader's subjects. Mobile unit standing by. I need to contact someone, preferably Thedoria. Voxcast creep frequencies disrupted, initiating setup, establishing connection. In place of the mechanical screeching, the servo skull's Vox projects the voice of Theodora von Volantis, distorted and ridden with static and yet still recognizable beyond a doubt. Voxmaster, restore communications to the navigator's sanctum. I'm trying to contact the bridge. If anyone can hear me, this frequency, regroup all available forces and head for the upper decks at once. I repeat, regroup all available forces and head. Communication protocols breached. Signal latency unacceptable. Unable to establish two-way connection. I need a weapon. I'm utterly defenseless. Distance from the current location to nearest arsenal. Initiating situational calculations. The servo skull goes silent, its relays clicking. Second after second passes and you realise that the servo skull will not answer you. Lead me away from here. Vox Skull. Middle and upper decks, assuming the probability of safe placement in areas of concentration of armed units. Calculating. The servo skull twitches and makes a few clicks. To prevent unauthorized units from breaching the warrant chamber, preemptive sealing must be initiated. The mobile unit will start executing received order immediately after the safety of the warrant is secured.
I'll lay claim to the stars.
Make sure our friend is out here first. Seal the warrant chamber. Of your Lord Captain, whose house each swore to serve until the last breath, may your souls... And I couldn't see the end of that because the journal entry popped up. Abelard. Sensual Abelard Westerian has lost some of its former polish. His forehead is sweating and one of the sleeves of his coat is torn and soaked through with blood. Nevertheless, despite his heavy breathing, he stands firm and his gaze is demanding, a bit somewhat surprised. Master Laverus, what? Whatever are you doing in the warrant chamber? How did you? He surveys the carnage around him, his brow furrows, and he places a hand on his weapon. Throne preserve me, what is the meaning of this? Conrad Voltigir is a traitor. When we parted ways on the officer's deck, he stunned me and somehow brought me here. The Sensual's eyes widen. What? He intended to take revenge on Theodora for an old grudge and become the rogue traitor himself. He spoke about defiling the warrant with some ritual and serving the gods of the warp. We'll go with the second one. Serving gods of the warp? Conrad is a heretic? Oh, Voltigir, you void rat. Aboleth shakes his head. Madness, and this mutiny is likewise his doing, no doubt. Voltigir openly admitted to it and is the mastermind behind the mutiny. Groxy, then it's a small wonder that the heretics are so well organised. I thought his order to seal all passages between the decks was his attempt to stop the attackers from spreading to the other levels, but now I see the real reason. It was to stop the enforcers from intervening. At least you're alive now, Master Lazarus. Alas, I doubt we can afford to look for a compartment to sit out this disaster. Abelard examines you critically. You're in a bad way, Lazarus. I can treat your wounds. I have a Medicaid kit with me. And for the love of the throne, now is not a good time to be walking around the decks without a means of self-defense. Here, he hands you a weapon. Items received. We got an axe, an auto pistol, and a flak chest piece, and a medikit. Cool. Right, so this is a small tutorial section. So this is basically how we equip our gear. So no swords, but we do have our axe. I believe that's a one-handed. Yeah, one-handed axe. So we can go with that for a start. And we can put the auto pistol in the second slot, so we can carry both at once. We have 2 weapon slots, so we can carry an alternate weapon, and that will animate on the back. So we can have a combination of a melee weapon, one-handed melee weapon, and a pistol, and then a 2-handed weapon as well. Depending on setup, we can't use the Medicaid kit. We don't have the skill for it, but we can give that to the other guy. And this is what I'll... Alright, so we got the flak chest piece on. Bit of Imperial Guard flak. We keep the bottom end. And this is where you run into issues I was mentioning before in regards to the Psychers. Because they don't have a base clothing outfit, the outfit that they wear is actually the entire piece of the armor piece that they get by default. So the second you equip any piece of armor, you get this here, and a set of underwear, and then just bare legs. So they run around without pants at the moment. I'm hoping there'll be an update soon enough to give them a set of clothing. I actually wouldn't mind playing through a Psyker, but as funny as it would be, I can't bear the idea of playing a Psyker running around without pants. Unless I go a full Slaneshi heretic with my Psyker. That's actually a possibility now that I think about it more. But anyways. Alright, we'll put the Medicaid. We'll give him the whole lot because we've got nothing else to put in the slot. So these are your alternate weapons or items, consumables. So we can put our medkits can go in here. We can put in hand grenades, whatever else we have available. We need to find ourselves some crack grenades because those are awesome. And then you've got the obvious. You've got 2 ring slots, a neck slot, a head slot, gloves, cape, boots, and then you've got your extra weapons. So that's the layout there. Right. Over and activate ability. We can actually use portraits, and that should trigger. There we go. Abelard nods in satisfaction. That is a noticeable improvement, Lazarus. Now you're prepared for the trials ahead. The lower decks are teeming with heretics, instigating the rabble to revolt, but that is the least part of our problems. The ship's enforcers are rounding up scoundrels and suppressing the resistance. The situation on the middle decks is much worse, although the strike teams have already dispatched there. All of the communications with the bridge and the engineering bay was lost, so apart from the scattered voxcast, we have no information to go on. And that's never good when you're on a spaceship in the warp. That's not the worst of all. He pauses when the light flickers yet again. All these jolts are shaking and most alarming. There are signs that the navigator and the master helmsman are having difficulty translating the ship out of the warp and into real space. In the worst case, they've already lost control of the process and we have precious few moments left to live. In best case, we manage to reach the navigator's sanctum and get a handle on the situation. Some aboard this vessel may yet survive. What exactly has gone wrong with the translation? I'm no helmsman or God Emperor preserve me a navigator. However, I've spent my entire life aboard void ships equipped with warp drives, and I know the portents of such of these do not bode well. It could be that the Galliffield has faltered, perhaps the navigator was struck down by a warp corruption and is fighting for the last shreds of his humanity as we speak. Have a bit of a drink. If we get thrown off course, we will be forever lost in the warp. Naturally, we will not have long left to live in that scenario, but even so, I do not intend to resign myself to such an outcome yet. How did you find me? Abelard tilts his head and looks at you with worry. You sent me a Vox message, specifically a Vox message cast on the officer's frequency, which I had the good fortune to receive. Do you mean to say you did no such thing? I think the Warrant Sentinel may have sent the message. It appeared when I opened the chamber. Warrant Sentinel? He looks at the servo skull floating next to you. The Lord Captain barely ever ventures down to the chamber, and I was with her only once or twice when she did. I did not see anything of the sort. The warrant chamber is an ancient and rather sacred mechanism that the ship's tech priests treat with utmost reverence. I assume that whatever it is that you did, it must have activated certain processes and caused the Sentinel to awaken. Then why did none of this happen when Lady Theodora did the same? He frowns. What can we expect to find in the Navigator's Sanctum? During warp transit, the Sanctum's closed to all who are not involved in the course charting process, and for good reason, for the Navigators open their third eye and perceive the way. The Sanctum has to be bathed in the energies of the Immaterium. Only the Navigator could withstand such an ordeal. For the rest of us, any contact with the warp is fraught with perils, such as loss of sanity, spontaneous mutations, and death. Abelard does not bat an eye as he lists the horrors that you are about to face. I heard one of Theodora's voxcasts. Lady Theodora's? Which one? The last one I received was about the Navigator's Sanctum, and that was a good while ago. In any case, let us hope that the Lord Captain is well and safely in charge of the ship's defences. In the meantime, we must do what we can to prevent the ship from veering off course. The Navigator's Sanctum. Very well, lead the way. Absolutely, Lazarus, let's proceed. A wave of static suddenly erupts from the servo skull, and you can make out Theodora's words through the noise. To arms, loyal sons and daughters of the God Emperor, fight the heresy and corruption that threatens to consume our home, and with all your might destroy those who have dared. The Sensual's eyes light up and smiles with grim determination. The Lord Captain is calling her crew to battle, which means the Vox networks are set up for broadcast transmissions, not message exchange. Splendid. While the rogue trader inspires proper resolve to fight her subjects, you and I will prove that her trust in us is well deserved. Onward.
Run, fools!
Alright, so now we've actually got full control of the battle. So this is... well, it's really the only difference to what you've seen so far. This is turn 0. So turn 0, anywhere in the green section, which will change based on the location of the characters at the start of the engagement of battle, allows you to move around and place anyone anywhere you wish. So when you're running around, not in turn-based, just doing the RPG side of things, and you're about to jump into combat, if your group happens to be grouped up, you will get a box that's somewhat like this around them where you can place troops. However, if you move them out and spread them out before engaging, you can actually change the situation of battle when you get into turn 0 before you start. So if you can spot the attacks or the ambushes or the engagements before they happen, there is an opportunity to play it a little bit tactical with where you place everyone before you start the engagement to give yourself a bit of an advantage. Now, the only rules to it is, obviously, you can't go outside of the bounds that have been limited based on your starting position, and you cannot start the round immediately adjacent to any of the enemies in the turn base. So as close as you can get is 2 squares away. Now, we are going to start... there, should be close enough. And our friend here with his chainsword is going to start about there, should do it. Alright, start the battle. So we get first turn, so we're going to do sprint. Sprint in the first target, which triggers an automatic melee attack. Second melee attack. And we don't have any abilities to be able to trigger a third, unfortunately, for the moment, so that's the limit of our moves this turn. Don't move, please. And we're going to pull the same trick on the other side, because these are all fighter abilities. Actually, we've lined this up slightly wrong, because we're not going to be able to do a counter there. Shit. Alright, that's alright, we can work with that. Chainsword. Now, does he have no secondary weapon? But we can get a backward slice. Cool. Time for the heretics to have their turn.
Pain and duty go hand in hand.
The sheer impractical crap that they do in the Imperium is insane by design. Yep, this is true, although some of it is explained. It's very unique to the universe, but it does make sense within the rules of the universe. For example, their usage of human bodies, converting them and using the organic matter coupled with machinery to make organic computers. This was because at one point in the history of mankind, we actually had incredibly advanced computer tech. No, I'm not going to get an attack out of that. Nah, damn it, because he's not in perfect line. That charge only works if you're in perfect line, but that at least gets me close. We did actually have an extremely advanced technology, and we essentially built Terminators. We made Skynet. We made them as slaves and servants to begin with, and then they kind of rebelled. Turns out when you create a true AI, which humanity did, known in the lore as the Men of Iron, once they become a true AI, they can be corrupted by chaos, and some of them did. And humanity was nearly wiped out. Trillions of people were killed in one single attack that was simultaneously executed across the entirety of the known and colonized galaxy. And since then, they've been really reluctant to have any kind of advanced computing in the Imperium. So they started using human computers that were neutered to the ability that if any one of them was corrupted, everything couldn't completely go to shit, even though it's highly inefficient. And that's kind of where the machine spirit stuff came from. We will charge over here and box him in. It's a pretty rough explanation. Trying to explain 40k lore, we do not have enough hours. There are not enough hours for me to try and get through even the parts that I know, and I don't know all of it. But there is odd explanations for just about everything. And then a lot of it, of course, is straight rule of cool. Like, the size of this ship, for example. This is a very, very small ship by Imperial standards. This is a frigate-class vessel. It's larger than an Imperial Star Destroyer. It's over 1 kilometer long. This is about as small as they get. They don't get smaller ships than this. Alright, we can do a little looting. Unfortunately, the turrets here were disabled after the initial fight, which I think we can get a thing. Still red hot from the gunfire, the engines of death froze as they finished off the heretics that had infiltrated the sanctum of the void ship. Yeah, the lore is convoluted and has a lot of its own internal explanations, but that's what makes it fun. 40k is a lot of fun. Alright. Idara. The woman before you whips around and gazes straight at you, her eyes glowing with otherworldly light. And so he will enter the halls of this blinded guide and witness the radiance of the final dawn through the cracks and fall victim to the whim of fate. Abelard, Master Lazarus, watch your head. Idra. Abelard grumbles as he dusts himself off and grips his weapon again. Would it be too much to ask that you phrase your soothsayings plainly for once? That was too close. The woman bursts into guttural, drunken laughter. Sorry, old man, the voices are so loud I can't even hear myself. They shriek, they sing. Oh, Abelard, how they sing. Lazarus, this is HoTaS, personal psyker and diviner of the lady's ship Theodora von Valancius. Abelard looks her up and down. Idra? I'm not drunk, old man. I'm suffering the effects of the warp, and it's seeping through these walls. I can see the ship's fate, to die in waves of the immaterium, fall under the burning rays of the final dawn, and in its roaring blaze I see a figure standing, but who is it? Who? I have no answer. The entity in your conscious shrieks and crawls in deeper, its claws scraping against the walls of your mind as its presence trying to hide from the seer standing before you. A diviner, are you? Idra nods. Her gaze is directed somewhere away from you. The voices from beyond the threshold whisper to me. Sometimes in murmurs are clear, they grant insight. Sometimes they drive me mad, but I'm patient. I know how to listen and discern, but right now the clamour is around me. Too many voices, too loud. Idra turns her head to you, vacant eyes flaring like embers. And you are Lazarus von Valancius, one of Lady Theodora's heirs. Well then, we finally meet. Vox Skull, you hear a few clicks from the relays and the servo skull which has followed you all the way here, and Theodora's scrambled words give way to a voice vaguely familiar to you. Officer's frequency, to all that can hear me, or those with a weapon in their hands are to gather on the officer's deck at once. I repeat, gather on the officer's deck at once and prepare to launch a counterattack. That's Altharad, Emperor's Providence, the other heir lives as well. Quickly, we must head to... Not so fast, old man. If we drown in the warp, no member of Lady Theodora's heirs will be of any use to us anymore. If Altharad, like me, has not yet surrendered either mind or body to the mercy of the warp, then we can still hold out a little without us. Abelard spits out a florid curse. Blast it, you're right. We need to deal with what's happening here. What are you doing here? The whispers called me, the ones that I could make out among all the screams and screeches. Those who were rocking this boat hit us where it hurt. They went after the navigator, our guide through the warp. Other whispers called me to the Ignerium. But it was too late. I heard the cry of our master Cog and the silence that followed. What, you don't mean the Chief Engineer is... Yes, Abelard dead without a doubt, and the voices wail heralding countless nightmares crackling at each soul among the hundreds that are now joining the warp. The shriek from the Navigator's sanctum was louder than the rest, and it's better that we save the Navigator than some lever puller from the cooling module or a cook from the middle decks. We must see if the Navigator is well. Oh no, nothing is well about him. Can't you feel the chill crawling in your skin, the eyes watching you? The warp has already encased the bulkheads. What follows is calamity. Idra freezes and then slaps her cheeks, rubs her face and looks at you. The supernatural glow is gone from her eyes and a smirk spreads across her lips. But we're not going to stand here and take it, are we? The state of things in here suggests that the Navigator's around. Maybe one who's crippled or on death's door, but still kicking. And since the skin hasn't peeled off our faces just yet, his third eye must be closed. At worst, it's a little roughed up. So what are we moping for? Let's protect the noble mutant while we're still alive. Alright, so we have a new character alongside. This is our unsanctioned psyker. Without spoiling quest lines or plot lines, being an unsanctioned psyker, you will gain the option many times in many conversations to execute her. But having said that, you actually gain the option to do that with just about every single member of your entourage. There's almost nobody you can't kill if you wish to.
A new challenge for me?
So that opens up some interesting roleplay options and changes certain things. Hurry, destroy the field. We can't keep our master waiting. There are heretics in the navigator's chamber. So we'll see whether or not I can trigger a bit of a change here. So Idra, we will try and get off the side. I'm not sure where the activation points are going to be here, but so I'll keep them wide. There we go. Okay, so you can see now I've got them sort of separated. The actual positions that can be placed change. We haven't got a huge width here, but Idra has the option to go farther out to the left, so I can actually move her out there. And we can get Abelard all the way up into this section for quick attack. So I'm actually going to put him here exposed because that'll be fine. And I will do the same here. Yeah, that will be... there will be the best spot, I think. That should work. Cool. We'll go with that. Right, Heretic got the initiative. And it's a Heretic Psyker. Alright, we should have probably taken them first, but we'll run with this. Charge the first guy. And we'll pull a shot on the second. Hey, we got an execution. Nice. Now, a Heretic is going to mess up the charge here, so what we'll do instead... charge our Psyker across, and let's cast some lightning. Now, this chains... not quite a double kill, but we got the second one. Now, forewarning. We will put forewarning onto Abelard. That increases his chance to dodge. And we will expose weakness. It's a Psyker. That's why the Psyker survived. No, we won't expose weakness because we can't actually get either. We don't have enough points for it. Okay, we'll go with that. Alright, so Abelard is now stuck in combat, so he is going to...
At your back and reduced to dust.
And then he can do a charge. No, we will. We'll actually be able to get an attack out of that, I think. Yes! Nice! Okay, I thought we might have had to go another round there to actually kill that Psyker, but we got him. Night vision goggles, so I'm just going to go through chat a little bit here again. Can you get a servo skull to follow you? Kinda. Servo skulls are pretty powerful artifacts. You can find some to equip later on, but they don't have an animation that follows you, unfortunately. That being said, there is a couple of missions you'll run into later on in the game where you get a servo skull that will just float around and do things for you. Kind of like the one from the warrant room we had a moment ago for the duration of the mission and the location you're at. So I'm hoping that later on, once you actually they'll actually put an animation to the ones that you can get as equipment, so you can actually have a servo skull floating around with you while you're running. That would be a really nice touch, I think. As I said, this is very much a traditional beta. There is a lot of working pieces here that are still not functional. There are a lot of pieces here that aren't added in, and this is very much not complete. But it's already friggin' awesome, so... failed translation. When your upper and lower body leave the warp 66 light years and 600 years apart. Yep, that's pretty much it. Big MC is my cuddle buddy. Let's roll. I love this stream. Thank you, Travis. I'm sorry that this is in 1080p, but yes, we did not burn enough incense and pray hard enough to the cogitators of the NBN. The Omnisire is not with us today. Right. Flame Q swipes. Basically, the Valerian Jihad from June happened. Yeah, kinda. The 40k universe is a bit of a grab bag of everything from every science fiction property. You will find stuff in here that relates to Star Wars. They've clearly taken inspiration from. There is a lot of Dune in 40k's DNA, like a shitload of it. The Navigators in particular. The Navigators in 40k are clearly based off Dune as a starting point, and a whole bunch of other science fiction worlds. It's one of those grab bags, however, that seems to oddly work. Mostly. There's a bit of jank in there, but it's worth getting past. And the fact that AI can become spiteful pricks. Oh yeah, there's a fantastic story, one of the short stories of 40k, that it was a Mechanicus and a bunch of Astartes encounter a ship from the golden age of technology. So essentially imagine you know, a tech priest and a bunch of space marines encountering something that looks like something from the future of Star Trek. And there was no living humans on board, but the AI that ran the ship was on board. The AI then proceeds to spend its entire time essentially taking the piss out of the Marines and the Mechanicus priest because of how shit they are and how primitive they are and how crap they are and everything. Just destroys them and then sends them back to their ship and just pisses off because they couldn't do anything about it. The Marines, I think, at one point try and blow up the computer, and so the computer in the ship just turns off their armor. Just turns off the armor, makes them stand there like statues, and continues to take the piss out of them. It just, yeah. It's a really cool short story because it shows the level of technology humanity was at before everything went to shit versus what they've got now. It's not even close. It's not even ballpark. And they refuse to advance to it. Efficient use of internal volume isn't a thing here. The beta has been great. My only major complaint is how one of the doctrines feels underwhelming. Yeah, well, a lot of the doctrines aren't finished yet. That's the thing, and a lot of them aren't balanced. Even the ones that are finished have been mentioned as not being balanced. A lot of the backgrounds aren't done. That's what I went through on the beginnings of it. Like, we can play certain classes; they let you do it. But I think a couple of them, I forget where it is on there's that it's got mentioned in there exactly how long it will take for you to run out of the established content. Like for Psychers, I think it's Psychers on... No, not Psychers, anyone playing the leadership class. The leadership class has its initial 10 hours worth of leveling, so roughly its first 15 levels sorted out. Anything after that it doesn't have anymore. Which actually causes problems when you're up at level 30, because a couple of your characters get leadership by default, and so they're not complete and they're not balanced, so they're missing things at the end. As patches come in, new stuff will be added, obviously, to complete those, and that will be all done before the game's released, but that's just where we're up to at this point. There's things you can try, but they're not done. And there are some things that are very, very clearly broken, like ridiculously OP levels of broken, if you can work out what they are. That AI was probably possessed by chaos anyway, in fairness. Some of it was. Some of it was just the AI got sick and tired of humanity's shit, because apparently while we were really technologically advanced, we were also kind of arseholes, which I can completely believe. And so it just went, well, fuck you, I'll shoot you. There's a bit of everything going on there, and not all of them were destroyed. Some of the Men of Iron were uncorrupted and still survive even to this day. Occasionally, ships run into them. It never goes well. There is a 40k giant sandworms. Will that be too much noise? There is absolutely sandworms somewhere in 40k. There's also kind of space worms in the Immaterium and all sorts of shit. Like, Cthulhu is generally... It's not called Cthulhu, but it is genuinely a thing in the 40k universe. Every single horror you can imagine is absolutely a thing. It's, and yes, it is all very much on the nose. Everybody knows where it comes from. But it's just part of 40k. Alright, so, the creature in the chair appears as if it's become one with the throne. You see a pink parchment-like skin stretch between the seat and the limbs that have had too many joints for a normal human being. The navigator is breathing heavily, and the air whistling as it exits through the two dark gill-like slits in its cheeks. The character's eyes are shut, the two ordinary eyes as well as the third one that sits in its center of its forehead. I believe Master God, the names in this. Master Vespasius still lives. Abelard finishes the sight of the stretched skin over the dark marks in the face of the creature. The servants are dead, but the chamber, thank Emperor, is still sealed from the warp. Well, we have a chance of leaving this place alive. Give Abelard a pointed look. Abelard clears his throat. Master Vespasius? The navigator stirs, barely able to lift his head and half open his normal eyes. A dark drop rolls from under the closed lid of his third eye and down his face, leaving behind a black trail. Your time is short. The voice is coming from the Vox screw at the base of the bizarre chair. It's unclear how the navigator is able to produce human speech. Our time is short to do what? Suddenly the navigator's body starts thrashing in place. It lurches forward and then falls back in the seat and then thrusts forward again as its bones crack and its skin tears open. However, the fusion between body and the chair appears to be stronger than the wild impetuses. The mutant remains seated but leans far forward as he can. His layered raiment slowly turning crimson. The gill slits burst open, forming two hideous screaming mouth-like pits. Fall to your knees, mortal, and behold the final dawn. Idra shrieks in terror. It came from beyond. His body is not his. Idra's scream is echoed by the silent cries in your head. The unseen creature triumphs at the sight of the navigator succumbing to the proxiums of corruption. Vespidus, its march thunders under the burden of hopes. Unseal your hearts and it will flood your souls with myriad of words and meanings, each one portent of the salvation within me. The navigator continues to convulse violently in his seat, shrieking and crackling, but then his fits stop abruptly. His face is drenched in black and crimson. Dark ooze from under his third eyelid has turned from a trickle into a stream mixed with blood coming from his nose, and there is a purplish swelling around the eye. Run, flee from this place while you still have while I still have the strength. The words come from the Vox's laboured rattle. I can contain the intrusion, but not for long. We must begin the translation, leave the warp, but it can't be done without the Master Helmsman's help. Addressed Abelard. The navigator is still alive, but barely so. What do we do now? The sensual gazes at the figure in the chair. The ship can only begin the translation with the assistance of the Master Helmsman. If he's alive, it's worth a try, but we must get to the bridge. We will need support. Our only option is to fight our way to the opposite deck and join forces with Adelard and the people we believe will also find Lady Theodora there. She must have heard the call to arms that the servo skull relayed to us earlier. Idra reaches her hand towards the navigator but pulls back at the last moment. Vespadius, good luck, and thank you. The navigator does not give her a response. Black tears mixed with blood are streaming from under the closed eyelids, and the Vox at the base of the chair is bellowing out static interspersed with distant echoes of otherworldly laughter. Not good. Not good.
None shall stand in my way.
We're going to take the time to loot everything, because we are RPG players here after all. What have we got? We have an axe, we have a scrappy auto gun, and we have an auto pistol. So we'll have to do a bit of an inventory check here and see if there's anything that's better than what we've got. And more of the same.
I'll lay claim to the stars.
Cool. And we do have some leveling to do here as well. So we have an auto pistol. Damage 5.9, rate of fire 6, range 5, max ammo 12. Compare that. 4.7, so the one we have is better. And we have the las pistol 6.8, so higher base damage, 1 lower and higher damage. Dodge reduction is 20, rate of fire is 2. Recoil's only 8, range 5, max ammo 20. Las pistol. No, we'll stick with the auto pistol for the moment. We have the sword here, 13.6 over 12.15, so the axe is better. And we have 2 more axes that are virtually identical. We also have the scrappy auto gun with 5.7. That's actually an inferior gun, but it does have a burst fire option available to it. So we actually equip that in our secondary slot. So you can see we have that on our back. Looks like just an improvised ballistic weapon. And nothing else here at the moment. We will give the las pistol, however, to Abelard, so he now has a secondary weapon that he can shoot with. And his chain sword is significantly better than the axe, so we'll stick with that. He's probably not going to need a secondary weapon, and our Psyker has a las pistol as well already, so that is fine. and has the psychic staff, so we won't be changing that configuration as is. So we'll go for that. Now we can do some leveling. So upgrade the fighter doctrine. So this is how you level. Each of these represents one level as you go up, and as you go through you get two options. So first option is choose ability. These can jump around. Second option can choose skill, so increase your base stats. So these are all of our base abilities we can choose from at the moment. So we have Endure. Fighter's next turn, all incoming damage is reduced by the fighter's toughness bonus, divided by 2. The fighter gains plus toughness bonus temporary wounds. Sworn enemy, the fighter marks a target gaining This is a damage bonus. Reckless strike, the fighter's next melee attack gains 5+ strength bonus, but it allows an automatic return. You have Taunting Scream, that's your taunt, get the enemies to fight you. Break through the lines, the fighter gains a slice ability with his agility bonus, 2 charges for the round. Slice cannot be used in the same round as charge. Slice, the fighter dashes through the enemy to a cell on the opposite side of the enemy and makes a melee attack with 50% reduced damage. Can only be applied for 1 target per turn, does not provoke a return attack. I generally, on fighters, I pick Endure for a start, because that's useful to avoid counter damage. And then we have our base abilities. Crowds, Heretics, Coercion, Demolition, Medicae, and our Commissar bonus is Coercion. So, we are going to go... We can actually see what changes we'll get here if we select them. So, we probably want to pump an Athletics bonus at some point. We're going to want Demolitions. There's going to be a lot of things that we're after here. Increasing Medicae to actually be able to use the health packs is probably important as well. So actually we'll go for that, because we're going to want to hit the minimum points so we can actually start using the health packs, because we will be in melee, so we will be out of cover and we'll be taking hits. That was less important for my first playthrough because I played an Imperial Guardsman and I was firing a las rifle. So I was behind cover most of the time. To summary, and that just gives you the option to apply everything and make sure you're happy with what you've got. And done. That's it. That's the leveling process. Once you hit, if we go back to doctrines, once we hit level 20 in here, that's when we get to select our second doctrine and we can start mixing up some stuff. So same thing again. We will grab Endure as well for both on the first. Now, he's already got skill requirements, Demolition, Coercion, Athletics, Crowds. We will not need Demolition straight away. Typical RPG rules. Once you actually have an entourage selected and a party selected, whenever you go into gameplay and you run into any kind of skill check, the game will automatically default to whichever character, to taking the base stats from whatever character has the highest base skill check, assuming you're not the only person alone. So it's important to consider what you want each member of your party to do in regards to base stats to maximize the number of stats you have available, so whenever you hit a skill check for a particular ability, you have somebody who has the appropriate stat at a high enough level. You can't always get that, depending on what composition you want to go for, but that's the basic thing you're trying to achieve here. So he'll be... Well, he's an Imperial Navy officer, so we want to give him some command skills and the ability to sort of push people around a little bit. Other things, reputation with various factions. We have a bit of a biography which is currently not filled out, but it does show the leanings of each individual character. That will make more sense later. So, yeah, a few different options in here, not all of them are complete. I will explain some of these a little bit, as I said, later on. Potentially in future streams or future videos, we'll see what happens. Right. We want to go this way for the exit. Hey, Happy Wombat, how's it going, mate? To the officer's deck. The Tyranids have their tunneling worms, so... Yeah, and the Tyranids are present. I've run into them. They're not a major plot point, at least not that I've explored so far. That's not to say that they won't be. As I said, I haven't completed this. But I have most certainly encountered Tyranids. So they are here, and I have encountered all flavors of chaos, and they are easily identifiable. At least the demon is having a good time, I guess. Yeah, well, there is that. They do tend to enjoy themselves in this, I've noticed. Yurishima, how you doing, mate? And here she is. The Queen of Destruction. Yeah, that's about right. Everything about the Space Nun is absurd once she gets her lower abilities powered up. The white-haired warrior turns to face you, her dark eyes blazing, the weapon quivers in her hands, and for a brief moment it seems she's not going to stop and will instead continue eliminating every target she sees, starting with you. Sister Argenta. The Sandshell's voice carries the weight of command, and it seems to bring the warrior out of a battle trance. Sister Argenta, it is a relief to see you in good health and well armed. We require all the forces we can muster. The young woman called Argenta lowers her weapons and scans your small party with an intense glare, and then she sets her sights on you. Your face. It is unfamiliar. Who are you? Lazarus Lom von Delantis, the Lord Captain's heir. Argenta gives you another stern appraisal. You catch something strange in the dark depths of her eyes, some internal struggle or wordless question. In the end, however, she nods. The hour is dark and daunting. The ship abounds with corruption. The faces of friends are twisted by sneers of heresy. The eyes of comrades are igniting with the arch-enemy's hunger. I will stand shoulder to shoulder with anyone willing to halt the advance of the dark forces, and that is why you have come, isn't it? Sister, I beg you. Abelard appears to be losing his patience. Now is not the time for interrogations. The ship is under attack by heretics. We've been betrayed by our esteemed Master of Wisters. Altheratus in the air is waiting for our aid. The Lord Captain Theodora is expecting a report of our success, and of course we're here to deal with the situation, so I suggest we do just that. I'm no traitor, sister, you can be sure of that. If you speak truthfully, the Emperor will not forsake you. If you are lying, you will not escape his retribution. I cannot wait to rain fire on more heretics, each and every one of them. Who are these people with you? Overseer of the middle deck, AL-84, my lord. We're rounding up anyone we could find and attack the compartments, and we ran into an ambush. Just about every enforcer fell. These are the survivors. We must get to the main hall of the deck. Through this door. Argenta nods a passage to your right. Go with you. I can't wait to destroy those who encroached on the God Emperor's domain. Sorry, I'm getting a bit of a dry voice here. Is the stream choppy or is it the game? It's the stream. Australian internet. I am sorry, but there's nothing I can do. Overseer, we'll follow you now. Overseer, we will follow for now. We will hold off any heretics who might crawl through the cracks to join the main assault, and we'll take a look at the generators while we're at it. Those villains made a mess of the cables. Oh, I wish we had a technomat with us, but we'll see what we can do without one. Good to hear, sister. Ready. May terror's light illuminate our path through fire and darkness. All right.
It's about time.
And there were 4. Well-maintained axe. One-handed, 13-17, so 1 point of damage more. No other special bonuses, but we will take that and give that to ourselves. If we can find out where it went.
Follow my lead.
Okay, so here's the kind of bugs I'm talking about. We just picked up that axe, and we can actually equip those now. The sister can't use one. Alright, that works. But it did not auto-equip, and we do not have it in our possession, so yeah, sometimes things just disappear, and that's happened a couple of times where it's a quest item, which is a small issue. But that's why I've got Toy Box installed in the background, so if anything too major breaks, we can sort of correct it. It's a bit of a requirement if you want to play into the deeper parts of the game.
None shall stand in my way.
Because the further in you get, the more likely you're to run into some pretty rough edges. Alright, so tech use 40. So who is our current tech lead? It is Aboleth.
Unexpected result.
Or Abelard, rather. Cool.
I'll lay claim to the stars.
Alright, in terms of goods, we have a melter charge, a machine write set, and a multi-key.
I won't tolerate
And into combat. I was hoping to get to the other end before that happened. That's fine. Alright. So set up for combat this round. We are going to put our character... Got the chair here that's blocking the way. Yeah, we'll put him here for the charge. I don't know if we can charge through the chair, but we'll set that up just in case we can. Now, there are 2 left, 3 right, so we want to put our unsanctioned psyker on the right-hand side. And there is no cover available via this table. That's surprising. I thought that would be a half-height cover. Although I suppose it makes sense. You'd be able to shoot under that. So I'll put her to the right. And our good sister here... You know what? She can just stand there because she's got a gun. So she can... Actually, yeah, that might work. Yeah, we'll go with that. Alright, first heretics in. Oh no, they've all moved out of position. Hey, if they get cover behind the table, why don't we? Alright, so, it's odd, the music stopped. So a little bit of warp fuckery across the table for a start. And that's 2 out of the way. And we will put our bonus...
On it.
onto our captain, or our main character, since he's under attack.
Enjoy your luck while you still draw breath.
3, alright. We will...
Nothing I come.
Yeah, we'll do the attack. And then we will pop Endure for the next round. There's not much else we can do. We've got nobody else that we can directly sprint to. And we can't use a ballistic weapon in melee turn. Actually, I think we can with the pistols. You can't use it with a rifle. But because we used our attack to clear ourselves out with the axe, we haven't got a second turn to strike here. So we are going to skip to our next. It's okay, we actually have somebody who's good with guns now. Alright. Unfortunately, they're both in cover, so we won't get both of them. I don't think. Yeah, that's still not going to help. Alright, we'll just do single shots. Oh, more heretics coming. Alright, can we get a... Actually, we'll do it. There's nowhere we can really dash to. Probably should have moved the first turn. Alright, so shot on the run. Which will give us a second shot. 39, no access to that target. 36 and 40 here, and we got 49. So that's our best shot. So it's a coin flip on whether or not we can hit this guy.
Faith without deeds is worthless.
And we miss. Oh, friendly fire is absolutely a thing here too. So if you line your troops up and then you do something, you take a shot, you can absolutely shoot your own guys. Even in the easier difficulties, that's on by default. You can't avoid it. So, yes. Alright, Abelard. Well, you have a gun now at the very least, so we'll get you up here and into cover. Shame your ballistic skill sucks, but not even close. Although, I think you can. You can! No, you can't. You're too short. God damn it. Well, that was silly. Well, at least he'll take a few hits now. I originally thought I was going to drop Abelard, but I ended up really enjoying his dialogue and managed to turn him into a monster in combat. Yeah, I did the same thing. You'll see when I load up, once the tutorial's done, I'll load up one of my saves. I think I've got one that should be outside of a spoiler area that has him with the massive broadsword that I gave him. And he can attack 5 squares at once with it. If you can get him into a group of enemies, he can just take out entire mobs on his own. He's the second most dangerous character I have. Actually, probably not. It would be for second most. It would be a battle between him and the Mechanicus, Mechanicus character, because he's pretty friggin' ridiculous with a plasma rifle on his. As his weapon and the axe, because he gets access to both his primary and secondary weapon at the same time. So he's pretty friggin' absurd himself. Alright, so we are going to risk our Psyker getting shot for another lightning bolt chance, because we have 4 people grouped up together, so that is beautiful. Look at that. Psychers are not OP in the slightest. And now I'm going to put forewarning on myself, or on her rather, because she's absolutely going to get shot in the face by these guys, and her agility and capabilities in that regard are not great. Rush up to there, then if we use charge, we can get ourselves further up. And then we will use the health kit to get our health up to full. We've still got forewarning on us, so we can take a few hits. That should save the Psyker getting shot too many times and set us up well for the next attack. And we will do something similar with her ladyship here, although she can get off a couple of shots first. See, that we have a 21% chance of shooting ourselves, while we have a 32% chance of hitting them. So we're going to have to get a single shot there, because that is too high. 56% chance. And nope, hits the table. That's okay. Sprint. Close the distance. Shot on the run for a second shot. And we are still got a better chance of hitting ourselves than them. We'll go for the long shot here, 65%. No cover. And another miss. And we have 1 point left, so we'll just... No, we won't, okay? We won't reload the gun. That's fine. We won't. Oh. Should probably kill this guy first.
My place is at the fore. Indeed. I took care of this one.
Nice. Sprint back the other way to reposition. Yeah, one of the things you'll get used to in this too as you play more of it, and it's apparently pretty common with the pen and paper version as well, your rogue trader is generally not the most powerful character in your party. You will regularly find that your entourage will have characters that are significantly more dangerous than you are.
I know what is to come.
Right. So we do a Psychic Shriek and hit the Cutthroat at the back.
Was that you, Ben?
That's another one down. So she's killed 5 now. And we'll drop this one on Abelard. Nope, to out of range. And we don't have line of sight to the Battle Nun, so we will end there. At least I get the final attack of this.
Opposing me was your biggest mistake.
Aha!
Did I mention that my whispers tell me jokes? Jokes that once said aloud make your eyes bleed and blood curdle. Talk about black comedy.
I hadn't heard that one before. That's good.
Victory
Okay, so these are some of the things I'm not sure about. So I'm not sure if that's supposed to look like that, or if that's just they haven't finished improving the graphics here. So there's small parts that are done. Like this is really blurry and indistinct, and then you look at what's around it. So whether or not there's supposed to be an animation there that isn't complete yet. All right, let's go logic check.
That was barely a challenge.
Alright, we can actually get some stuff out of here. Alright, so this is cargo that we can trade. Because we are a trader, you remember, we are a rogue trader. Operator's gloves. The wearer of these gloves gain a +3 bonus to tech use techs. Okay. So that's an item we can equip. Who has our best tech skill? Tech use 25, 30, 30, 30. Alright, we'll give it to you. Everybody else is about the same.
I'll lay claim to the stars.
Cogitator is silent. It seems the machine spirit is no longer being powered by the motive force. It's out of power. Alright, we'll try to break the door directly.
Nothing's impossible.
Hey, we actually picked it on a 40%. Restore the power supply.
Experience. Nothing matters more.
I'm wondering if we're getting a bonus here because of the tutorial. Because I don't think I've ever failed that, and these are only 40%. And we passed again. Either we're getting really lucky here, or there's something going on in the background because it's a tutorial, which would make sense. A melted charge and another health pack.
Nothing's impossible for this old officer.
Mantle of Heroism. Okay, so that requires a particular leaning, which we won't have yet. Actually, no. No. I believe... yeah, I believe you actually do have that leaning. You can probably wear that. You can. There we go. Some of the cape designs in this are really cool, by the way. Animation's a little... eh. The design's cool. Alright, let's loot the heretics.
I won't tolerate weakness.
Cozy seating area is completely destroyed. Pieces of furniture and splinters are scattered everywhere, and dark stains cover the floor and upholstery.
This ocular implant was a worthwhile investment.
And I think we've looted... oh no, we've got a body over here. Just making sure we loot everybody and get all their stuff, because we'll want to use some of it later. And also looking for the opportunity for new, better weapons and items if we can find it.
Victory awaits!
Okay, that is everything in here now, I think. So, we're about to progress on to the next section. Just quickly checking out chat. Speaking of 40k, have you played Chaos Gate Demon Hunter? No, not yet. I was tempted to buy it and just haven't yet. It's on my list, a tactics game playing as Marines, and I've heard that it's good. I just haven't played it yet. Of course, the trader's job is to drink wine and order people to do better and not do anything themselves. She's fun. They may be more powerful, but they've got a warrant in the size of an elephant. Yeah, that's a thing. The brass knows how to do it by who can do it. Apparently, is true of traders too. This feels weird, looting one's own ship. Then rogue trader ships will probably have a small legion of smugglers operating without anyone knowing. Considering the size of these things, the crew on these ships probably 5 to 10,000, maybe more. The ship itself is over 1 kilometer long. It's got rooms in it that are essentially like 10-story cathedrals. Yeah. So we're probably just stealing from the crew who are stealing our space. Yep. No, not the upholstery. Kill the crew, leave the furniture alone. That leather is expensive. And the wood. Like, remember, wood in space.
Follow my lead.
That ain't cheap. And this is a 1,000-year-old ship, so this is really old wood. Right, so we have demolition charges, so this is fine. We'll blow the door in our own ship open. Cool.
None shall stand in my way.
And let's go this way. Actually, I think we don't have a choice. I think we have to go this way.
It's about time.
But most of what we're looting, to be fair, is we are looting the bodies of the people we're killing, which is pretty standard RPG fare. As for the rest, we're not technically the rogue trader yet, so we're actually stealing from Theodora. Or looting Theodora's stuff. Important distinction there. There is a difference. Take a mouthful of drink before I start this one. The roar of flames rings in your ears, and the choking smoke makes you cough and gasp for air. You instinctively recoil of the scorching heat wiping your face. A moment later, a hazy silhouette forms in the raging fire. You're surrounded by ear-splitting noise and screaming, yet you distinctly hear the sound of footsteps, and then you see a figure walk out of the fire towards you. It's Theodora von Volantis. Her expression is calm, terrifyingly so for somebody whose body is engulfed in an inferno. One of her hands is resting on the hilt of a power sword, the other is raised in an inviting gesture. Are you lost, my heir? Argentina goes still as a statue, then slowly raises her weapon. An apparition, a sorceress apparition, trickery of the warp. Sister, will you lower your weapon? Despite his commanding tone, Abelard does not sound too confident. He is staring at the rogue trader, and you notice a muscle in his cheek twitching. Threatening the Lord Captain is outrageous. Aren't you in pain? Pain is just a reflection of one's own weakness, Lazarus. To renounce weakness of spirit in pursuit of greatness is the only logical to the heights worthy of a rogue trader. Theodora watches you without blinking. Her snake-like gaze almost makes you forget about the fire searing you, leaving burns on your skin. I can lead you out of these flames, Lazarus, show you a path, rid you of pain, and give you a weapon so that you may defeat your enemies. Decide. Your mouth begins to salivate. Each word of Theodora speaks like music in your ears. The entity that now dwells in the deepest recesses of your mind is pleading, begging, demanding that you give her an immediate answer, and that answer can be nothing other than acceptance. Generally not a good sign. Do not listen to this abomination, Lazarus. If there is naught but his light in your heart, if you are resolute in your faith, then step into the flames. The Emperor protects his faithful and will not be deterred by either darkness or deceitful promises, nor will fire burn those who carry the torch of faith in their soul. I'm pretty sure Malta will disagree with that, but we'll roll with it. Idra, to the voyage with you. We need to follow Lady Thedora before we suffocate in the furnace. The people. Abelard looks back and coughing, confused around you. Lazarus, the survivors from the middle decks. We must help the crew, lead them out, find a way around. Over the roaring flames you hear distant sounds, frightened voices, screams, muffled and distorted, as if there was a body of water between you and them. Then we miss our chance to meet up with Ed. Idra breaks off and starts coughing violently. Her knees buckle and she looks like she's about to fall. Lazarus, what are we waiting for? So, this is where we get a bit of a choice. There are 3 paths we can go for. We have Imperialis, which is following the light of the Emperor. Hereticus, which is, well, you become a heretic, or start leaning that way anyway. And Benevolent, I can't pronounce that. You be a good guy and just do the right thing, even if it's not necessarily the most imperial thing, and it's not necessarily being a heretic. You're just trying to do the best thing for the best people. But we made the decision earlier on. We're going Imperialis, so walk through the fire. Thousands of needles pierce your consciousness, but are powerless to stop you. Imperialis plus 12. You take a step forward and the illusion breaks. A wave of excruciating pain crashes over you and Theodora's voice fades into the firestorm. You hear the voices of your companions calling you from behind and the screams of the weak dying in the inescapable blaze. The blinding inferno, the harrowing pyre and the all-consuming storm releases you as you step out, barely able to stay on your feet. The blood is pounding in your ears, drowning out the world from around you. Your eyes are caked in soot and burnt eyelashes refuse to open. Free from the flames, you take 2 more steps before collapsing to your knees. The rush of blood in your temples and the horrible pain all over your scorched body cloud your mind, before suddenly retreating as if driven away by some mighty will. A new strength spreads through your veins, and despite the wounds, your body is once more ready for the trials and struggle. You open your eyes and see a glow in the warm light before you, the Aquila, the sacred symbol of the Imperium. In the next moment, you are struck with another realization, the repulsive presence, the one that has plagued your mind since the Master of Whispers wounded you, is gone. The fire seems to have burned the entity away without a trace. Abelard. Lazarus, Master Lazarus, can you hear me? A familiar voice cuts through the din and the pounding. Sensual Abelard Westerian is leaning over you, peering at your face with a look of worry. He notices your gaze and breathes a sigh of relief. You are alive and sane, which is more than I was expecting after what you just did. Argentia, praise the Emperor. Argentia kneels next to you, and for the first time you see her eyes radiate pure, unclouded joy. We pass through the flames. Oh, how can this be anything but important? But so it's said that the Emperor will bless the worthiest and most steadfast in their faith. Behind Argentia you see Idra Talas doubled over in a fit of nausea. The rest of the people who are following you have withered away in the fire. It continues to rage mere meters from you. The Emperor protects. Did you see that? The Aquila, it was glowing, and we are alive. Fancy that. I think the fact that the Aquila was glowing is probably the more important one. Abelard glances and then looks back at you, his expression now twice as worried. You're delirious, Lazarus, whatever you think you are seeing. He seems perturbed by your words, but he casts another glance at the Aquila you are pointing at. Idra wipes her mouth and rasps. What happened, Lady Theodora? Did she follow us? There was no Theodora, which Argentina is staring straightly ahead and then crosses her arms on her chest with reverence. There was an illusion, a temptation, a foul taint that tried to lead us astray, but Lazarus perceived its true nature. Is that right, Adepta Sanctimonious? We'll just pretend like we didn't see the Lord Captain standing there in the fire. Abelard, you tell her. Whatever it was, it matters no longer. Abelard sighs. Your contact, Lazarus, is borderline on madness or holiness. A path opened behind you, where one moment there was fire, the next only smouldering embers remained. What am I saying? My eyes must deceive me. Too much smoke for my lungs. Truly, would you have received wounds like these if there had been no fire? The wounds are merely a sign of a trial laudably passed. It is something to be proud of, the same as decorations or badges of honor. Argentina herself sounds proud, even fervid. Rise and stand tall. No element holds power over the righteous. Dismiss the help and stand up on your own. I feel fine. Allow Abelard to help you up. Admittedly, I've been better. If we're going to go the big path, yeah, rise and stand tall. Even if you are anticipating another wave of pain, it does not come. Your muscles feel strong, your limbs obey you without fail, and deep inside, somewhere in your heart and stomach, you feel a certain tension akin to that of a taut string. You are at your limit, but adrenaline and strength of your faith will not carry you much further. Altherad. Von Valanza stares at you without trying to hide his awe. Lazarus, did my eyes deceive me? I could swear I just witnessed you step out of a pillar of fire with the rest following in your wake. I hurried here to join forces with you and the others. It's time to push the heretics back. It was only one way. We are here to respond to your Vox call. I loathe being late for an engagement. Yeah, we'll go the third one. I want to be a little snarky to this guy. Nothing good ever comes from such rashness, yet it appears that the Emperor favours you. Altherad examines you once more. Be that as it may, your wounds are highly worrying. Law Warp 40, take a close look. So we have a 70% chance to get this one. We'll roll it. I want to see all of these if we can get them. Law Walk, check succeeded. Altherad doesn't seem to have changed since you met, but only at first glance. His face took on a strange hue. Something like scales appeared on his temples, and there's a weird screeching note in his voice. These are not traces of fatigue and stress. The Psyker's body has begun to mutate, a consequence of contact with the warp. You're not in the best shape yourself, Altherad. The Psyker grins back at you. Did you pick up on the traces of my blessing, Lazarus? Yes, the warp is taking its toll, but I'm still staying and able to hold a weapon. I'll fight for von Valancius' bloodline to the end, even if it costs me the eternal curse of mutation. My faith will keep me upright with weapon in hand, that's all that matters. Pardon me. Altherad holds his hand in a placating gesture. Pray, forgive my insolence. I shall not be the one to doubt the faith of he who has passed a trial by fire. I gathered everybody who answered the Vox call and was able to hold a weapon, yet I do not see the Lord Captain or her arch-militant in our midst. We're still receiving messages in her voice, but she's not responding to direct requests. The last I saw Lady Theodora on the observation platform. When did you and she part ways? It was at this very elevator, Master Earthrad. The Lord Captain, accompanied by the large militant, headed to her chambers to retrieve an item of particular import. After that, all we heard from her was her Vox broadcasts. Altherad, this is troubling, and the timing is inopportune. I'm still receiving fragmentary reports from the bridge. The Master of Witness was spotted there, and even with scant intelligence on his activities, I have reminds me of descriptions of sorcerous rituals. If that traitor has resorted to witchcraft, we must stop him at once. I shall go to Theodora's chambers and find her. Altherad nods. A reasonable approach. Take your escort with you. You may be waylaid. Once I've found the Lord Captain, you must beg her to go to the bridge and lead the counterattack. The road trader's appearance is sure to fill the defenders' hearts with hope, however frightened or exhausted they may be. Until next we meet, Lazarus, may the Emperor bless your deeds. I shall see you on the field of battle. Altherad salutes you with his weapon and turns to his retinue.
Victory awaits.
Alright. Generators hum softly. When you draw closer, your skin begins to tingle from static discharges. So we want to go in here, I believe is where the elevator was.
I'll lay claim to the stars. What is that?
And he's opened up the door to the Lord Captain's quarters. But before we go in there, let's steal a bit more of Theodora's stuff.
I won't tolerate weakness.
What have we got? Lexomechanics goggles. These goggles grant a +3 bonus to logic checks.
None shall stand in my way.
And we have more goods here. Yeah, that's just more goods for trade. This room clearly does not serve as a stateroom. The generators, machines, and crew wall paneling indicate that it is a maintenance module room rather than an area for receiving guests. It's a back entrance, is what it is. Alright, let's have a quick look. We have another level. Now, who has our highest logic? Logic is 25, 30, 30, 30. Alright, let's make Idoria or Idra, or however you pronounce that. That's pretty cool. Look at the eyes. Double glowing implants. Unfortunately, we're only 25, or I'd put them on myself, but that gives her a logic of 33, so she's now my logic for the moment. Give myself a second one. Yeah, I'll take care of that in a second. Right. Now we'll quickly do some leveling up, and then I'll do a quick check on chat again. Alright, so advance, increase movement points for the fighter by 4. So we've got an automatic gimme there. And now we have another talent we can choose. Now, here's something I don't like about the design. You're used to seeing some of the more important abilities on the top. This talent selection is not super clear on what you can do, because if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you get a whole bunch of Commissar specific abilities down here. You get a whole bunch of Death World option abilities down here, and this is also where you start getting access to your skills that allow you to use various pieces of armor and weaponry. Melter weapons, plasma weaponry proficiency, bolters. The first time I played... Pardon me, I might actually have to get a drink here in a second. The first time I played through this, or my first playthrough run, I think I was 15 levels in before I realised that I could scroll down here and finally access this, and it was only that I was trying to work out how to equip, to learn to equip a heavy armour, and couldn't work out where to find it. This is where it's at. So this is where you can also, you pick up your heavy armour proficiency, the Eldari weapon proficiency, your Drakari weapons proficiency, so you can use Eldar and Dark Eldar weapons, power weapons, all of that is down here, as well as some other bonuses. We don't need any of them for the moment. We don't have access to the equipment for them to be super valid, but that's where you get them. So I think the talent selection option here needs to be designed a little bit better. I'm not sure how you'd change it, but it's just a little bit clearer that those are down there. Because if you don't know, you don't look. We're not conditioned to scroll to the bottom of a list to find all the really good abilities. Maybe if there was some kind of tree that would be a little bit easier to work out what's what, that you had to click to drop down. Or the trees were automatically closed, because we've got our tree set here. Yeah, if they were automatically closed by default, rather than all being open, might be a useful change. Just something that crossed my mind. Anyways, Enrage, Epicenter of Slaughter. When the fighter is attacked, they gain 1 stack of Epicenter of Slaughter until the end of combat. At the start of their turn, the fighter gains 1 temporary wound for each stack. These temporary wounds cannot exceed the fighter's toughness bonus. So basically, the more people swinging swords at you, the stronger you get, or the more damage you can take. Prepared for pain, hardened scars. There's a lot of abilities here. I'm looking for any that I recognize straight off. That'll be useful. Actually, probably grab Nimble off the bat. Creature gains a plus 10% bonus to dodge tests. So that's probably a good one for the start while we don't have the armor. Just a flat 10% bonus to avoid taking damage whenever anybody swings at us, or shoots at us for that matter. Alright, so same deal again, we get advance. Now this one I might go for Epicenter of Slaughter, because I'm going to set Abelard up as more of a massive melee tank than anything else. Now, our adept. No automatic here. Tech use, logic, awareness. Law warp. Warp law will be useful on skill checks. Tech use I don't want to go into just yet. We will find somebody else for that. Awareness. Awareness is probably something that's going to go more into our Sister of Battle. We'll take Law Warp because we do need... Although... Yeah, we'll go with that for the moment. Alright, pattern recognition, Tide of Excellence. Actually, we'll go all the way down here. What do we got? Divination, the Edge of Fate. At the beginning of every combat, the Psyker's ability gains plus 25% critical hit chance. The first critical hit removes this effect. Allies under the effect of at least one psychic power gain an additional 5 plus 2 plus the psychic's psi rating, armor penetration. Every time the Psyker's allies parry or dodge 9 enemy attacks during one combat, the Psyker gains plus 2 additional points for the next turn. 9 attacks. Automatic fire, I guess. Predicted downfall. The first dodge attempt in any enemy attack, combat suffers the Psychic Psi rating as penalty. Unnatural luck. When the Psyker uses divination psychic power on an ally without an unnatural luck effect, that ally gains an unnatural luck effect. If the ally is under the effect, suffers a critical hit, it becomes a usual hit and the effect fades. That's really good. If you stacked that with Fatebringer, every time you use an ability, you put both those bonuses onto the target. So every time you use the dodge increase ability, you get those as well. So we'll take that one. Alright. Upgrade to Marksman. Rapid Reload. Taste of Pain. Tag Team. Unpredictable. Fired Up. Exploit Setting. Combat Medic. Tenderize. Integrity. Grenadier. Enough bullets for everybody. Second Marksman's attack action in the turn deals additional Marksman agility bonus. Damage to enemies that have not suffered damage from the Marksman during this round. That's a passive ability that's always running, I think. I might take that, but I would also mind... Yes, we'll take this one first. Bolt Weapon Expert, because I'm going to use bolters on her fairly heavily. So we'll pick that up early. And we want... We'll go Awareness, because Awareness will affect our ballistic skill. So you can see... Awareness acts as a modifier for that, so cool. I am going to have to bring everything to a pause here for a second, guys. I really need to grab a drink, so I'm just going to drop us over to, I think, that one for just a second, and I'll be right back. Sorry. Alright, and back. Sorry about that, just realised I've been talking for nearly 3 hours. Throat was a little dry. Alright, quick read through of chat. Sorry, I got to turn away from the mic a little bit when I do this. Uh-oh, Selenesh is here. I guess the crew's faith was a little too weak. Did you just become an Imperial Saint? Not yet. I assume that might be an option somewhere, but I don't know. At the very least, the Emperor is clearly paying attention to me. Heretic purged that party member. As I said before, you do get the option to do that many times. There is many times you'll get an interaction option to shoot some of the more heretical members of your crew. So you can potentially, in the middle of a future conversation, just turn around and shoot her in the face. It sits there at the bottom if you want it. By the way, is your bad eye caught up yet, or is that still a work in progress? It is much better now. My eyes are doing fantastically. Again, I said this at the start, but I will say it again now. Apologies to anyone who's waiting for a video on that. I got sick not long after getting them, and didn't want to do a video when I was all sniffling and everything else. And then I had a bit of an event. I actually had to go down to Melbourne, and I've had a few things on. I actually only got back last night. So that's why there has been a bit of a delay on videos. It's part of the reason why we're doing a stream tonight, because there hasn't been a Cold Waters or anything else come up, and that was the plan, to have stuff up this week. But I haven't had a chance to make anything because I had to head to Melbourne, and yeah, there was a few things that I don't really want to discuss, but a few things going on down there. So yeah, but the eyes are going fantastically now, very much so. I think there's probably still a little bit more focus-wise left to go, but they're pretty close to as good as they're going to get. The progress has been absolutely fantastic. Much faster than I thought it would have. Or if it can get better than what it is right now, I'll be very highly impressed. Fire purifies everything. You will not serve in combat, then you'll serve in the firing line. Appropriate for what we're playing. We've got a couple of options of those. Glory to the first man to die. Hey, is it still going? What did I miss? Just purging heretics. Yeah, purging heretics. That's about it. We're nearly done with the tutorial section and get our first look at the ship mechanics. Actually, I think we got a wound on us at the moment. Old wound, injury which hasn't healed in time and only to be healed by a med kit, but will require an additional Medicaid check. Alright, we'll give that a shot, see if we can fix that up, because we're actually carrying a wound. I didn't realise.
Thank you. Now where?
Hey, we got rid of it. Cool. Alright, to the Lord Captain's quarters. So you get to keep your driver's license. Yes. Yeah, I'm already back to driving, actually. The eyes are good enough. I've been driving. I was actually able to drive almost as soon as the right eye sort of got its shit together. And actually I could focus both right and left eye at the same time. As soon as I got to that point, I was able to actually drive again. The issue was always just I couldn't function with the right eye out of commission. So, yeah. That's been good. I actually drove down to Melbourne on the weekend, so it's fantastic, and it's made things a lot easier around here now, because I was basically 100% reliant on either the wife or other people's help to be able to do anything, and now I'm not, so. Dawn of War. That's something I haven't played in a while. That or Dawn of War 2. And I've never played Dawn of War 3. I own it. Somebody gave it to me for free, and I still haven't spent the time to install it or play it. No, that's not entirely true. I played it before it came out down at PAX, and yeah, I think it was the first or second year I went down to PAX. And I was not impressed with what I saw. Not a bad bedroom for a starship. You know, I've seen the Enterprise's crew quarters. They ain't got nothing on this.
Follow my lead.
That looks less than optimal.
I won't tolerate weakness.
Captain Militant's helmet requires Imperialis adherent. The helmet grants its wearer immunity to critical hits for the first 3 rounds of combat. That's a powerful item, that one. We'll keep that.
I'll lay claim to the stars.
Alright, awareness 40%. Scene of the murder looks like something... and I couldn't actually read what that said. Theodora von Valancius's body is sprawled in a large blood-drenched desk. The arch-militant's corpse, still clutching a weapon, is lying on the floor by one of the bulkheads. Argentia, the sister of battle, surveys the scene, her gaze lingering on the arch-militant's body. Emperor, accept thy faithful souls. Idra, no! Idra's heart-rending scream shakes the walls. She collapses to her knees, her body shuddering as she weeps. Lord Captain, I didn't hear a thing, not a whisper, not a breath. It was so loud. Why didn't I foresee this? Abelard, stunned, takes a few steps forward and leans heavily on the edge of his desk. His eyes are looked at Theodora's body. Lord Captain, who would even dare, unless the rat, the Master of Whispers? I doubt it. He wished suffering and humiliation upon Theodora, not a swift death. It could have happened in the heat of battle, not to mention that Mort was here. He would have protected Lady Theodora to the last. How could Mort have failed her so terribly? The Arch-Militant was born on a death world. He had lightning-fast reflexes. Idra sobs and gets up. She glances around looking lost. I can look at things in my own way. If you find something that might bear an imprint of the killer, just give it to me and I'll see what secrets it holds. Examine Theodora's body. You lean closer to the body. The cause of death is apparent. What ended the road trader's life was an auto pistol shot, an extraordinarily accurate one at that. Theodora's face bears an expression of surprise, the last emotion she experienced in life. Something on the floor catches your eye, a heap of blood-splattered parchments and a scrolls that must have fallen off her desk. As you lean down for a closer look, you notice something else, small shards of glass shattered on the floor, or scattered on the floor. Idra, would you try touching Theodora? You might be able to see the killer through her eyes. Idra's whole body shudders. It doesn't work like that. I can try to read the memories or objects, but dead bodies are a different story. Something like that would require her soul. And after what we saw on the officer's deck, I won't risk searching for it in the warp. Examining the Arch-Militant's body. An auto-pistol shot went straight through Mort's forehead, spraying the floor and the furniture around him with blood, brain matter, and shards of his skull. The safety of the Arch-Militant's weapon is off. The killer must have been a split second quicker than he. Inspect the shards by the desk. It's difficult to say exactly what was broken. The object fell on the floor, and that is as much as you can ascertain. Closer examination, the shards appear iridescent rather than completely transparent, as if they had been submerged in promethium. Idra, what does these shards tell you? Idra scoops up a handful of shards and clutches them, her fist with such strength that blood starts dripping on the floor. I see streaks of colour, luminous, blue, light faces drawing closer. Lady Theodora, and Conrad, and what is that? Ah. She shakes her hand, looking frightened. Something dark, enormous. Oh, Lazarus, this glass thing was something nasty, that's for sure. tainted witchcraft. You cannot tell if Argenta's remark was directed at the glass shards or at Idra herself. Inspect the papers. Reports, accounts, dispatches, you go over the scrolls until you stumble upon a document that is starkly different to the rest. It is a handwritten letter signed with the initials XC and the seal with a symbol that is vaguely familiar to you. Law, Imperium check failed, but try as you might, you cannot recall its meaning. We had best be on our way. Yes, the crucible of battle calls me once more. No, wait, we must see if we can find anything. Idra, Abelard lays a hand on her shoulder. You can't bring her back. Let her go. You gave up so easily, old man. I expected much from the sister, but it's not like she has a heart. But you? Oh no, I'll get to the bottom of this. I'll find the one responsible for murdering the Lord Captain, and when I do, Idra clenches her fist. That scum will regret the day they were born. Okay. Now let's rob her safe. Rogue Trader's Cloak. The wearer of this cloak gains +5 bonus to fellowship for each enemy in a 2-cell radius. Okay, that can go on our guy.
A new challenge for me?
Theodora's Rosary. The wearer of this amulet gains a bonus to commerce and law. Imperium checks equal to their fell bonus. Would have been nice to have that before I rolled the Imperium check on the shard. Or on the document. But we'll equip those. Wait. Ah, wrong person. Hang on. His is cooler.
We shall prevail.
And we've got another level there again. We've got a couple of items we can inspect, but we will do that later. Right. Now, a little bit of foresight here, but if I'm remembering correctly, I think we have to fight somebody in here.
My whispers crave.
Actually, it's trying to get us to come. We'll do the level up. We'll do the level up. Alright, we've got Daring Breach, Heroic Act, okay, we could go Coercion again, but I think we'll take our Athletics bonus again. So that is our selection there. Same deal, we get Daring Breach. And we will go... We'll go Athletics as well. We'll need them for the movement points. They're both melee characters. Alright, Adept gets Dismantling Attack. Logic, Tech Use. She does have the Logic bonus at the moment, so that's probably an important one. Law, Warp. Unsanctioned Psyker. She's probably not the one to stack Logic. But, yeah, we'll do it for the moment. We need the bonus. And we have our Sister of Battle. And she gets Military Excellence, which is ridiculously overpowered, by the way. We will see that soon. And we'll take Awareness. Cool. That's done. So you know what? It doesn't really matter. We'll just bring these all forward.
None shall stand in my way.
There we go. That triggers the attack.
Feel my wrath!
Oh, that's right. There's a servitor involved with a rocket launcher. Okay. I will put her there. We will put the Psyker there, because they both need the cover. Abelard. Abelard can go... Yeah, no. Abelard can go here. And I will put Lazarus here. Pull them back one. Hopefully that'll give them enough room to charge, and the Psyker can take the ones on this side. Never mind, looks like they're all coming to me.
You'll regret this.
The Servitor's actually really heavily damaged. Oh, look at that grouping.
My ears are ringing.
Oh, look at that grouping. Alright, we are going to go. Big hit on the Servitor. Take it out. And we will sprint up just to get ourselves clear. I am going to do the big axe swing. We'll probably take out 3 here.
None shall survive.
Nice.
Not my
And
specialty.
I can actually... Can I charge and get either of those? Apparently not. So we will brace just in case we get another attack. And can... We'll take a roll and see what happens. And got them both. So our Psyker didn't have to do anything. Grace of the Oblivious. The wearer gains plus toughness if their intellect is less than 35.
It's about time.
That is actually probably a reasonably good amulet for an idiot. What is my intelligence? Less than 25. Okay, yeah, intelligence is 25. Intelligence is 30. That's actually a really good one. Intelligence less than 35. Abelard's only got 30 intelligence, so he gains plus 5 toughness. We'll go with that.
Victory awaits.
Being known as the Amulet of Ogren. I haven't played Dawn of War 3 myself, but I haven't heard good things. Yeah, what I recall of playing it at PAX, it was not great. And yes, nothing I've been told since convinced me otherwise. It lost all of the good parts of the strategy of Dawn of War 1, and it didn't have any of the really cool RPG elements of Dawn of War 2. So, I really like Dawn of War 2, I should probably point out. Are the pauses from the stream or the fact that it's the beta? It's all the stream. Any pauses of the stream. The game is running smooth as silk. It's unfortunately my net connection is just trash. So... the game that shall not be named. Yeah, it's one of those things. There were 2 great Dawn of War games and a whole bunch of fantastic expansions. Shame they never made a 3rd one. I'm still playing Dawn of War 1 without mods. It's just that good. Yeah, it's great, especially with the expansion. I want to go back and play it again. I never completed the Necron campaign in the first one. Once you got all the expansion packs in to be able to play all the other factions. I do want to give that a shot at some point. I played the shit out of Dawn of War 2. That was great. Can you get a Sister of Silence? I don't know. I haven't run into all the characters yet, the companions yet. I don't think so. I guess a character that's going to be dumb is going to be tough. Yeah, it's a shame that you don't get an Ogren. I would really, really like an Ogren.
Whispers told me how.
I'm very fond of Ogrens. Altherad looks somewhat harrowed, but still in one piece. He glances at you and then over your shoulder, clearly alarmed. Lazarus, you're here, but where is the Lord Captain? Theodora von Valancius is dead. I found her in the Arch-Militant in her study. Altherad's eyes widen. God, Emperor, preserve us. The rogue trader is dead. The ship has lost her captain. The house its head. Altherad shudders and grabs your shoulder. As you watch, the sleeves of his doublet burst open and 2 bone growths pierce through the fabric. No matter what ritual Conrad is performing here, the warp is too strong. I can't withstand it. I feel my body changing with every second. The warp rings in the air, and this is the end. We will perish in the warp, along with the Warrant and all of the dynasty's heirs. The enemy of humanity is victorious. Idra looks anxious at Altherad and then glances back at you. I've seen it before. We'd better get away from him. Changes are already accelerating. The ship can still be steered out of the warp, but we must first restore communication between the bridge and the navigator's sanctum. Altherad stares at you, his eyes harden with cold resolve once more. Then we have no right to bow our heads. You can see Conrad clearly in the gloom of the bridge. He's holding a now familiar broken blade stained with dark drops that seem to have a pearlescent glimmer to them. Altherad, we're out of time. Altherad bites his knuckle, desperately thinking. You can see how a wave runs through the whites of Altherad's eyes. They begin to fill with a sickly yellowness. Draw your weapon. You curve, the rogue trader's death will be avenged. That complicates things. Ready your weapons. We're going to die this day. Let us die with honor. We'll go with this one. What? Theodora is dead? He stares at you, seemingly genuine bewilderedness. No, this can't be. Not now. I still haven't. Altherad lowers his head and then sighs and locks eyes with you. His gaze cold, haughty, and fanatical. The ritual will not be completed. I will take care of it, and you will see that the void ship breaks free of the warp. Watch over our realm, and farewell. Altherad, don't! Hey, tall, dark, and grotesque.
Death will find you soon enough.
Okay, so how am I going to set this up? I will need Idra in cover, and we most certainly want our Sister of Battle in cover. We do want to keep enough distance between the demon that we can control when the charge is going to take place. So we'll put these 2 out in the open, ready to go. Alright, let's go with that. Hey, she gets the first shot. Excellent. Mag dump that thing.
Without deeds is worthless.
Don't shoot. There you go. Example of friendly fire. We took a shot in the back. Alright.
I'll do it.
Second shot. And can I... Can't really get a better angle where I'm not going to shoot myself. So we'll go for the 60% on a single shot.
Commands, I act. This is unacceptable.
Can I fall back now?
Ouch. Knockdown on everything. Alright, we'll do... we'll get you... that's right. That acts as... This one here is annoying, I remember this. That acts as an invisible wall, so even though you should be able to shoot over the railing, at the moment you can't. I think that's something that needs to be corrected. So, best bet. Probably move out and clear. Go Psychic Scream against the Chaos Spawn. Ah, yes, I remember how this fight works now. Shit. That's 2 knocked down.
This will help.
Back into the fray.
Yes, I remember exactly how this fight works now. Every time we get his health down, he's going to kill one of the guys in this room. And on doing that, he gets his health back. So we have to kill all of them first before we can kill him. And Abelard is stuck in the fight, so he is going to have to fix himself up after we shot him in the back.
I will do my duty.
Get in with the axe, or the chainsaw at the very least. And endure. Yeah, we gotta kill the rest of these guys as quickly as we can. Alright, we skipped our turn because we're knocked down. And we missed her turn because we're knocked down. Fuck, I hope they get up the next turn. There we go, they're up. Cool. Right. Hydra, get up past.
None will stand against me.
Alright, how many did we get? Looks like we got all 3 around that side. So we've only got to get these 2 now. I don't think we can do anything. Argenta is probably the best character for this.
Not this Scryer's joy.
That's gonna work. Okay. But I don't think she can actually get there. No, nobody else can get there at the moment. Right, so I'm going to do a tricky. If you run Abelard away,
I've seen worse battles than this in my time.
and then you use charge, you can charge back in, get the charge attack, and then do your attack at the end of the round, so you get 2 attacks on the target out of melee. And double dodge.
At your beck and call.
Right, that's all we can do there. Shit.
Forge ahead.
I'm going to move 1 around, use a med kit on her because we need to keep her up,
I owe you one.
and then use my attacks.
Not a problem for me.
Alright.
The enemies of the Emperor
Get
will
clear
be
of melee
undone.
range, and we'll have to do single shots so we don't shoot ourselves. This might be enough. There we go, so he just killed another one. And we managed to parry the knockdown. That's good, we needed that. Okay, let's do shot on the run. And that's about all we've got here. We'll go walk him as well. Just to buff us for the next round. Right, that cutthroat dies, which we should be able to do now.
My prescience has failed me.
shit. And we got hit by the knockdown. Damn it. Alright, we're going to do the same trick again.
Tried and tested tactics are the best ones.
Out. Charge back in again. And there we go. Last guy's dead. So that's the end of its health redos at the very least. It can't re-heal itself anymore.
Whispers getting louder.
God, how many attack turns are you going to get, you big bastard?
Indeed. I will do my duty.
Endure is up again. Lazarus gets skipped. And yeah, I can't drop a mag into this thing without killing everybody, so
I'll do it.
Shot on the run.
Is worthless. I'll do it.
We've almost got enough momentum to use military excellence, just not yet. And we'll sprint out of the mist that we're in. Right, back up again. Now, do the same trick again. Gets the parry.
At your beck and call.
Charges in for the attack. Drop the power attack.
Victory is
Endure. Abelard is just carrying everybody here at the moment.
Never wavered in the face of adversity.
Out and clear and do the same thing, except we are going to activate, give them health first.
Curse you, mystery!
Charge, and then on with the follow-up. And we don't have enough points to pop Endure, so hopefully we don't take a hit, otherwise we're going to be going down. And our Psych is actually down completely at the moment, so... Now, can we get... There we go. 65% chance with no chance of hitting our guys. We'll run with that. Nice. Gotcha. Sister of Battle Logic, if the shot lands, it's where the Emperor wanted it to go. Yep, pretty much. We only just hit enough momentum there at the end in that final round to actually activate military excellence. That's a great ability, especially later on, because it essentially gives you multiple rounds of free shots. You can't move the character, but you can continually fire. And if you've got and it reloads your magazine at the start of it, you can actually get off enough shots to completely empty the magazine across it. So it's 14 shots. So I think on the upgrades I had, it was 2 rounds of 6 bursts, and then you could fire off 2 single shots afterwards in one turn, not counting the normal attack you would already get in that turn and the shoot on the run attack. So 6 rounds of combat, including two full burst fires and 4 single shots against multiple targets in one shot, in one turn. And that's before you have the other characters potentially giving you bonuses that can give you additional rounds on top of that. So, as I said, she gets absurd later on in the game. She gets so absurd, I'm kind of interested to see what they do to make the Space Marine you get better. Gloves of Endurance. When the wearer wears these, an injury or falls unconscious in combat, their allies gain +1 bonus to damage. Mysterious Sword Handguard. A Wraithbone handguard of a sword crafted by the Eladari weaponsmiths. Its pommel is adorned with the uncanny eye that extrudes an aroma of corruption. And we have the Mysterious Sword Shard. Those will be quest items that have become important later. Auto pistol. And nothing else apparently, because everybody else was fairly well grouped up.
Follow my lead.
Right, we have any way of getting around to the bridge officer?
I won't tolerate.
We gotta go back this way. That's blocked off. This way's clear. Ravnor, Master Helmsman, System Status Report. By the Emperor, it's essential, living and breathing. The white-haired man with sickly pale skin salutes you. Well, there's a tricky question. The whole place is so overgrown with foul wickedry that we'll be scrubbing it off vid screens for throne knows how long. How did your people survive here? Let's jump to the chase. We need to re-establish contact with the Navigator's Sanctum. It's our only chance of escaping from the warp. Your words seem to knock the officer out of their stupor, and the air around you fills with voices and commands being issued. You hear someone sobbing, one of the survivors buckling under the stress. Alballard cuffs the crying officer without even looking. Restore the Vox channel to the Navigator's Sanctum. Ready the crew and prepare for translation to real space. Abelard pauses for a few seconds before turning to you. Lazarus, you may call me superstitious, but translation is not a good time to disregard rules. You are the only one who speaks for House von Volantis. You may not be Lord Captain, but you are more than anyone else here deserve to take the place in the ritual that's about to commence. He directs your attention upward to the throne that sits at the apex of a tall staircase. What must I do? Take the Lord Captain's seat, order the final preparations, and wait for the officers to report. Blah. Blasted to the void. Translation the craft, not something to be explained in a tick. Just go up to the throne. Master Lazarus, these people are about to do the impossible. At least they deserve is the solace of seeing a figure sitting in the usual spot. Please hurry. Every second we waste is a terrible risk. I'm ready. Begin the ritual. Edge of daybreak. A vision of unimaginable vileness appears before your eyes. The flickering image shifts and wavers as the azure feathered creature is constantly clinging while remaining the same. One of its eyes is engulfed in an otherworldly fire, the other a vessel of ancient evil bores into you. Its voice seems deep and directly to your brain without ever reaching your ears. Mortal, who are you to oppose the very flows of fate? The creature bends its neck, studying you, but for a moment you feel as if it's wary of you. It matters not. Your footfalls are an echo of the sand pouring between the scales. Your hopes of faith are a mere mockery. I've already resisted the temptation of the warp once. Whatever you are, you will not be a cloud in my mind with a new illusion. The creature hisses almost painfully as if wounded by your words. Resisting the inevitable means only the realization and submission will bring greater torment. There is no power that can hinder the flows of fate. The demon peers into you, your head begins to spin, your stomach turns, and vicious drops of slither down your cheeks. This shard of reality drifting through my domain is merely an arena for the one who dared to vie for favour of the gods. The aspirant vowed to return with a trophy to procure that which elevates a mortal above others, a relic that could serve the edge of daybreak. That fate was assured and the steps chosen, and yet you broke the unbreakable. The aspirant was defeated and thus gave birth to a new aspirant. Your image is woven into the tapestry of things to come. I see you on the day when the final dawn rises over the mortal world and the gates of the realm of the sorcerer open and set the truth free. I see you at my side on the day I rise again. I am the will of the Weaver of Destinies, and today I will weave a new thread at elusive possibilities and fickle chances. The thread that will lead you to the more irreversibility. The thread that will guide you and the weapon of our return. The demon reaches towards you and sinks a ghostly claw into your chest. A terrible cold binds your body, and the cavalcade of heavy glimpses of the future yet unknown passes before your eyes. A flash of crimson, purple, the image to replace one another of the violent kaleidoscope without ever letting you get a proper look at them. The path is set, child of the dawn, the thread is woven, follow it, servant of mine. So for those of you who thought Slaanesh was on the boat, no, it's Tzeentch. Tzeentch is on the boat. Raver turns around and looks up at you. He hesitates for a few moments and then dresses Abelard, who is standing next to you. Senshal, the Navigator's sanctum is silent. The Vox signal is stable, which means... Abelard nods mindlessly. The Navigator gave his life battling the storm at nearly clave the Von Volantis flagship. We will honour his memory along with all those who died this day. Ravenor does not look away. He's giving you a hard stare, his white brow furrowed. Sensual, will you tell us how? Who is that? Where's the Lord Captain? Abelard, it takes time for Abelard to respond. You watch as he grits his teeth, unable to bring himself to say everything. Finally he adjusts his blood-stained coat, straightens and begins to speak. First Officer Abelard Westerian is authorized to inform officers it is my greatest regret and indelible sorrow to inform you of the untimely passing of the Lord Captain Theodora von Valancius, rogue trader in service of the Imperium. May her memory never fade in the annals of the dynasty. After waiting for the first wave of shocked cries, Abelard glances at you and continues. By right of blood succession and with the absence of other kin who could challenge the decision, say nothing. It is hereby declared that the successor to Theodora von Valancius is Lazarus von Valancius, the rightful inheritor of the warrant of trade and the title of rogue trader. The official ascension ceremony will be held at a later time. In the interim, Abelard steps short and glares fiercely at the confused officers. Have you lost your tongues? Hail your lord, it's because of his toils that we are still alive. The Essential turns to you. He looks at least half a decade older. The deed is done, Lazarus. My apologies. I meant to say Lord Captain. People reload in 40k? What heresy is this? Look, to be fair, some of the mags get pretty big, considering their actual physical size. Jalen, hell of the new contacts, they are fantastic. I'm going to try and get a video done on this week. There's been a lot going on. As I said, I had to do a run to Melbourne and I've been a little bit unwell. Still got a little bit of a croaky voice now, in fact. All this talking has not helped, but I think we're at the end of it now, nearly. At least for the night. But yeah, the contacts are fantastic. Vox, why do you do this to me when I take apart my GPU and repaste? Get bent. It's alright, you can watch the stream on your phone, dude, while you're working on the PC. Yep, it was Tzeentch. Yep, Tzeentch. Hope some Chaos Space Marines show up. Very small spoiler. Yes, they do, but not yet. As is appropriate of Chaos Space Marines, they turn up at other points in the game, and they're essentially the boss fights or mini boss fights. We will run into them eventually. Not now. A little bit later. Along with a lot of other things. Things that surprised the shit out of me when I ran into them the first time. Deep shadows of wariness can be seen on Abelard's face as the old officer's eyes are keen. They rake you over from head to toe. He frowns, mutters something, and then nods to himself. Well then, your lordship. You had us worried for a few hours there. Abelard offers a thin smile, but after witnessing you fearlessly rush into the fray on the deck, the only thing that surprises me is how long you stayed on your feet. Your strength only left you once the fighting was all over. Such fortitude is most admirable in a Lord Captain. The medics only just saved you in time. Luckily, one of the healers remembered the existence of a long-forgotten augment station in storage. The blessings to the Omnisire saved your life. Some of your internal organs had to be replaced with implants. The good news is that now we have the capability to install augmentations of any complexity. The Essential then mutters to himself, I swear, sometimes it seems new compartments spring up on this ship of their own violation. You must now hold your first officer's briefing with your new Lord Captain. For many who are about to join us on the bridge, this will also be their first briefing. We sustained massive losses among the senior and middle-ranking officers. Some posts have had to be filled by the deputy, while others go unfilled entirely. And now the deck clans are deciding who will take over leaderless crews. How did we come to lose so many officers? It appears the heretics were deliberately targeting the vessel's command. They knew exactly whom they were looking for and where they could be found, which is unsurprising given their informant on board was our Master of Whispers. What's on the agenda for this meeting? Reports on the condition of the ship and crew. The Lord Captain are not usually drawn away from her important affairs to attend such routine briefings, but this is a unique situation. I am still receiving updates from across the ship and they are not encouraging. Getting this bird to fly could take a gargantuan effort, even so far as you personally negotiating with the authorities of the system we are currently in. So prepare to hear a bevy of complaints and excuses, your lordship. Take this opportunity to get a good look at the officers who work 6 decks away from the bridge, and they in turn will have the honour of beholding the visage of the Lord Captain. I'm ready to start the briefing. Summon the officers. With a gesture, Abelard relays the order of adjutments at the far end of the magnificent chamber. A dozen pairs of eyes bore into you, their expressions reveling restraint, joy, curiosity, and wariness. Abelard, attention officers, you've been granted the honour. Lord Captain Lazarus von Valancius will personally conduct today's briefing. Our most gracious Lord Captain is ready to hear your reports. Perhaps you would introduce those present, Abelard. As you wish, your lordship. Abelard points to the tall, slender woman whose body seems to contain as many implants as it does flesh. Vegdis Surrey Otter of the Tholiman line, our new Voxmaster. It's an honour to serve your lordship. The Voxmaster offers a deep bow. Aboard this vessel you have at your command thousands of crew members and hundreds of officers and section chiefs. I'm responsible for receiving, processing and sending all communications between you and them, as well as external sources. I am your eyes and mouth, Lord Captain. Beside her is Ravnor, the master helmsman. He steers the ship along the course set by the Lord Captain and monitors the void around us to ensure that we do not stray into an asteroid field or a pirate trap. The bearded man with a pale, almost transparent skin, large dark circles under his eyes, and a dour expression that seems hard-wired into his face gives a sullen nod. Hail, Lord Captain, and here the ship's as good as home to me, so rest assured she's in safe hands. I'll die before I let her come to any grief. And lastly, our High Factorum, Janice Danrock, who oversees supplies, procurement, and general material and well-being of the ship. Dressed in an embroidered jacket and heavy-set man with oiled offers an ambiguous smile and bows. It's an honour, your lordship. May you trust me with all matters concerning your comfort. Everything will be done to the highest standard. In the second row we have 3 officers charged with overseeing the ship's vital functions. The Master of Ordnance is responsible for the artillery aboard, the Infernus Master whose crew work to prevent and extinguish fires on the ship, and lastly the Engine Master, servant of the Omnisire. The 3 officers salute you. The Infernus Master does so with confidence, while the Master of Ordnance betrays nervousness. The Engine Master officers salute resembling a dance involving a complicated manipulation of all the tech priests Macadandrites. Thank you, Abelard. Greetings to you all. I serve at your pleasure, Lord Captain. I wish to hear the Infernus Master's report. Yes, Lord Captain. The tall young man bows his head in deference. I can report that all fires across all decks have now been extinguished. The preliminary damage assessment in terms of material losses and crew casualties has been completed. The results have been submitted to the Senshal and the High Factorium. The post passed him after the previous Infernus Master and his next 3 deputies expired in the line of duty. Abelard remarks in a low voice, pitched for your ears only. The lad is managing well so far. He can take the heat, so to speak. Hi Factorium, what is your report? We are toiling day and night to compile a full account of the losses. The task will require next to no involvement from your lordship. I will personally ensure all damaged components are given to the tech priest's hands for attention and that all lost supplies are replaced. There is only one resource that I could not replenish single-handedly, and that is people. We have lost more than 2,000 crew members, and unfortunately this number is confined to the scum of the lower... scum from the lower decks, which are easily replaced, but also includes trained professionals. We will be able to make up losses on the nearest planet, Rakid Minaris. However, the whole system in fact, belongs to the Winterscale Rogue Trader dynasty. We cannot simply begin recruiting on a planet without first coming to an understanding with the governor in that respect. I'm powerless. Negotiations of this level are a matter for the Rogue Trader. Especially true giving Caligos Winterscale's penchant for attacking first and asking questions later, and this kind of thick-skulled thugs he usually installs as governors of his planets. Engine Master, I'll hear from you now. A voice distorted by a Fox translator emerges from under the tech priest's scarlet hood. Lord Captain, the foes that set out upon this noble void ship destroyed the repositories of hundreds of machine spirits, and the great warp engine entrusted to my charge is unharmed, thank the Omnisire, but its spirit mourns its dead brethren. We have not yet identified a prayer protocol capable of assuring its sorrow and anger. With great sorrow I must also report that the Chief Engineer, overseer and spiritual authority of all tech priests on board, fell in battle. The Mangos was betrayed by a little detestable flesh that remained part of him, a most terrible loss. There is no one among my comrades whose experience and comprehension of the sacred protocols equaled that of the fallen Magos. We require a replacement, and as soon as possible. I see, thank you. We need a new engineer. Master Helmsman, deliver your status report. Right you are, Lord Captain. To cut the story short, the outlook is bleak. The ship's sound more or less, but without a chief engineer and a navigator who fell in battle, we have no way out of the system. If we try and set so much as a toe inside the warp, I don't know what will happen first. Our warp drive being torn to pieces, or all of us melting into the bulkheads. Your Lordship, if you allow me to interject, when we arrived in this system, my crew followed standard protocols and conducted a count of all available communications channels in the region. One of them was a Navis Nobilite station. The station maintains complete Vox silence, but even its presence here inspires hope. To have located a navigator in the very same system is an incredible stroke of luck, a true blessing from the God Emperor. If I were you, I'd grab this chance with both hands, or else you'll be eyeing up asteroids to use as your new residence. In slightly less shitty news, we can go around and round this system till our heads are swimming, so long as the promethium and supplies last. If any thick as grok shit lowlifes come sniffing about, we'll be able to take them out, so don't you worry about that score. Master of Ordnance, do you have anything else to report? The Master of Ordnance gives you a gloomy look. No, my job's simple. Maintain the arsenal and fire where I'm told, but just ask anyone. We've got no able crew, no Lord Captain. Abelard, Master of Ordnance, you forget yourself. So what? Comes the office hostile and bitter reply as if a dam burst inside and all of his pent-up emotions are rushing out of him. The ship's in ruins, every second officer's dead, and now we've got a green Lord Captain who's supposed to lead us to void knows where. Silence. The bridge's magnificent glass panels seem to tremble under the force of Abeloth's roar. Enforcers, seize this mutineer. Abelard grunts. If only one officer out of the whole lot has fallen to pieces, then it's not bad at all. Your Lordship, I do humbly apologise on behalf of the entire crew. What would you have us do with the Master of Ordnance? The former Master of Ordnance, I should say, besides find a replacement, that is, for we already have one lined up. So we have some options here. We can stand down, release him. I have no intention of punishing a man for a moment of weakness, not after a terrible attack we have endured. We can execute him. Or we have a way out. Experienced masters of ordnance are few and far between, so for that reason he may remain at his post. I leave the punishment to your discretion, Abelard. Tempting to shoot him. He's not being released. I think last time I shot him, so we'll try this one. Experienced masters of ordnance are few and far between, so for that reason he may remain at his post. I'll leave the punishment to your discretion, Abelard. Let's see how good Abelard actually is at his job. 20 lashes a month for the next half cycle. Deprivation of officers' rations and privileges for the same period with the option to extend. Record that in his file. 20 lashes a month for half a year. No officers' privileges and standard rations. Okay, fair enough. Abelard stares unblinkingly at the Master of Ordnance. Cease your snivelling, you disgrace yourself and your entire clan. Enough, the hysterics are over, let us resume. The Master of Ordnance stands up, wiping the blood from his broken nose, his face a picture of shock. What just happened seems to be dawning on him, and only now the knowledge of his fate he so narrowly escaped. To summarise, we have sustained serious losses in crew numbers and we require a new chief engineer and navigator. Is that all that is preventing us from continuing the voyage? Precisely, Lord Captain, but bear in mind that this is not the end of our trials. The ship is in need of serious repairs which can only be carried out at Footfall Station, home to the only dockyard in the sector, but we will never reach Footfall without first solving these 3 immediate problems. Oof, 20 lashes. 20 lashes a month for the next 6 months. Not just 20 lashes. Wonder if he's going to do that all in once, just 20 lashes in a row and then send him to work for a month and do it that way, or if it's going to be like a lash a day and he can have weekends off or something. I wonder exactly how you split that down. Anyways, what can you tell me about the system which we currently find ourselves? I cede to the Voxmaster on this point. We are in the Rykard star system. Our voyage here was undertaken on the orders of your lordship's predecessor. There are 3 inhabited bodies in the system, and our attempts to send Vox messages have produced confounding results. The Navis Nobilite station has simply failed to answer. It seems to be maintaining total Vox silence. However, we did receive a distress signal from the prison planetoid in the system. And Rykard Minoris itself is not only responding to our hails, what's most alarming is that our augurs have intercepted signals from the surface that seem to indicate ongoing hostilities on the planet. The situation's not very encouraging, but without a navigator, a tech priest and crew members we won't be able to travel anywhere. Therefore we must go to the planet pardon me, and the Novus Nobilite station to find out what in the void is going on. Thank you for your reports. Dismissed. And we've got another one here. Abelard, your lordship, there is one other thing, a confidential matter of most importance. Lady Theodora, Abelard hesitates. Your eternally esteemed predecessor brought the ship here to this system for a reason. She was given a secret communication. Perhaps you're wondering who has the authority to commission a rogue trader to do anything, and I'll tell you. The Lord Inquisitor, the hand of the Emperor, the chief architect of his own will in the Coronis Expanse. To be clear, this isn't an order. The Chief Inquisitor requested the rogue trader's assistance. I'll be honoured to fulfill the Inquisitor's commission. What is it he asked of Theodora? Lady Theodora was to seek the Lord Inquisitor's right-hand man, one Hendrix van Kalox, an interrogator, you understand. All I know is that he's somewhere in the system, and we must find him and offer him whatever assistance he requires and deliver him... Pardon me again? God, it's getting late. To football in the Furbundus system. Finding him without any more information to go on to will be difficult indeed, but the Inquisitor is an important individual. The authorities of this system, either the Navis Nobilite or the Governor of Rykard Minoris, may know something. That's all of it, your lordship. You have a great deal of work ahead of you, but this is more of a taste of the daily burden of a rogue trader. Soon you must take up the reins of the Von Volantis Protectorate. Abelard gives you another scrutinizing look as if to gauge how long you'll hold out under the mountain of problems. His face softens slightly and it seems he's about to offer some words of encouragement. Idra, Sister Argenta, explain yourselves. The Sister of Battle grimly nods towards Irada. The Psyker was suffering some ailment or dark madness. She insisted on seeing the rogue trader. I judged that it would be unwise to leave her unsupervised. For a brief moment, Sister Argenta's voice sounds hesitant. I was also hoping to approach you with a personal request, but it can wait. Talk to me when you have time, rogue trader. Idra's mutant eyes rove over those assembled and then burst from her lips. Daybreak. Idra, come to your senses. Damn it. Your lordship, here's the thing. I was trying to see the immediate future and it hit me so hard my head is still spinning. Something very strange is heading our way and I can't make out what it is, no matter how hard I try. A single word is all I can make out. Daybreak, or maybe it's dawn, and it's ringing and ringing like an echo of a bell. We cannot extract any information of value from a single word. Can you tell us anything else, Mistress Talas? No, not yet anyway. The voices are going berserk, all shouting at once. I can't make any sense of it. As soon as I know or sense anything, I'll report it, alright? If there is nothing else of value to report, I declare this briefing concluded. It's time to go to work. Alright, and we now have free reign. So that's essentially the completion of the first stage of the tutorial up until this point now. We now have access to our ship and the ability to move around. And now we're trapped in the first star system. The first star system we can't exit until we've completed all the quests here, and these establish the start of the main storyline beyond this point. So since we're getting a bit late here, I'm actually going to end this one here, guys. Well, at least this part of the playthrough. Before we do that, however, I will save game. I will save that. And then we will load a game, and I'll load one of my others. I will try and find an appropriate save. Okay, that one should give us... Yeah, we've already saved. Okay, so this is the character, the one that I've already been playing. This save game at the moment I have about 71 hours invested into, and I am pretty far into the story. I'm not going to show you off any of the story parts, but just to finish up this stream, show you how the mechanics for navigating the universe work, because there was a few people discussing it before. So this is our star map, and we can see over here the little icon for our ship. So we can go to various worlds. It's just a simple click mechanic. And you get a scanning mechanic to find out what's on the surface. Sometime you'll find resources, which is what I've got here, and I've got an extractum, which is a mining operation, is essentially running to pull various materials out. Sometimes on these worlds you will find like mini side quests or missions that you can go and complete, that potentially you can get new items out of. Or at least uncover interesting side stories. To give you a couple of examples without going too much into spoilers on what you could potentially find, I have found a crashed inquisitorial ship. I've found Xenos temples. I have found strange warp anomalies that give very little explanation. One of the more interesting ones I found was a crashed black ship. So for those who know the lore of 40k, you'll know exactly what that is. And yeah, that's as... things did not go well on that ship before it crashed. And it still didn't clear up much after. As well as a whole bunch of other really interesting little lost Imperium cities and lost civilizations. There is also a mechanic on some of the worlds if you find the right places to actually start entirely new colonies and build them up. I actually have a couple here already. So Janus is a world that you get, Cavia Ganima is a world that you get, and I've started my own colony on Fellstone at this point. And I've got a few others as well later on. Now, when you're traveling the warp, this is your inner solar system navigation, which we would be up to now. We could have accessed that in the game. However, if we want to do the Coronis Expanse, this is our star map. Right, now I can't zoom it out any further than this, but to give you an idea, so far, I think at this stage, I've uncovered most of the worlds that I've been able to access so far. There's no other warp trails. Now, the size of this world, and this is why I'm pretty sure not all the content's in, this is as far to the right on the map as we can go, Nameless Star, or at least as far as I've ever been able to access. So you can see, we've got an up and down axis here. That's to the edge of the map. So there's at least a third of the map to the right that is completely uncovered and inaccessible at this point in time in the beta. And this is as far as we can go to the left. And same thing. The entire beta at this point, which I'm 71 hours into, seems to only be playing on a third of the map with no ability to progress outside of that third of the map. Everything else is cut off. There are no trails that you can go through. So that should give you some idea of exactly how big I think this goddamn game is. It's fucking huge. Now, the navigation mechanics. You'll see we've got the lines in between here of various colours. So these are the warp paths that link each of the star systems that we can go to. Anything that's green is a safe warp route. You can make that trip with no problems whatsoever. Anything that's yellow, you're going to get a minor warp disturbance that could potentially lead to an event, very low chance. Anything orange will lead to a major warp event that could damage the ship and lead to a warp incursion on the ship. Anything red is almost certainly going to get demons on board your ship, which you are going to have to fight on board your ship if you attempt to travel it, and will lead to many, many, many deaths, tortures, and other horrible things. The thing is, most of the warp routes when you start and you're exploring are actually at the very least yellow, if not orange, if not red. The mechanic is as you explore and travel, and moving between systems is pretty straightforward. So you'll get a little... Close that, I don't care about this, it's an old save game. So we got nothing here. If I warp up here, I'll see if I can trigger an event. We'll just go through the yellow. So this is an unsafe path. We get something like this. The clan servicing the void shield arrays position the Lord Captain for aid. The compartments were becoming overrun with fungal corruption. The mycelium claimed one chamber after another. The thick black spores poisoned the rogue traders' servants, causing their eyes to burst and their veins to swell until their skin ruptured. The clan was issued reinforcements and gas masks so that they could keep working while the soldiers burned away the infestation. Void ship has taken damage 16. By the God Emperor's grace, no perils of the warp prevented the vessel from returning to real space. So you get a little event like that. As you travel more complicated or dangerous paths, they increase in severity and can lead to encounters where you actually have to fight demons on your ship yourself. Now, the mechanic for this to get clear warp paths is as you explore new systems, which I can't show you because at this point they've all been explored, but you get the option when you jump into a new system to scan the system for new warp paths. When you do that, you earn a point down here for Navigator's Insight. When you earn points, you can then, before taking a warp path, spend those points to lower the risk factor of the warp path that you're going to take to the next system. It takes one Navigator's Insight point to drop the danger level of the warp path by 1. So if you've got a 3 level, you've got a red warp path, it takes 3 points to get it to green, 2 points to get it to orange, 3 points to get it to green, 2 points to get it to yellow, 1 point to get it to orange. You do not get enough points to be able to successfully turn every path in the Coronis Expanse to green. So you have to work out where you're going to spend those points to build highways that are safe for high-speed travel across the map, and which paths you're willing to just leave red and just avoid traveling on, and which paths you're willing to just drop down to, say, yellow level, where you can get minor negative effects, but it won't be too much of an issue. You actually have to be very selective on your points to build essentially highways of safe travel across the map to get between your own planetary holdings and between where you've got missions. And if you spend the points too heavily, you might run into a mission where you have to travel a red path in order to get to it, which can involve some pretty horrible shit actually happening. So this whole system, it's actually a really clever way of making, almost adding a tactical element to the navigation, to the way you navigate the Coronis Expanse. You don't have enough points to make everything safe. So what paths are you going to make safer? Which paths are you going to make completely safe? And which ones are you just going to ignore? For mine, this is where my planetary capital is. I have, or I had, a colony, I think here, which you lose. Yeah, there's one there, there's one there. I've got one here, and one over here. So you can see, and down here, Fernabus, this is the location of Footfall, which is the only space station, large-scale Imperial space station, and it's the entry point to, well, you got the Imperium here. That's an unscanned system, because you can't access that. So, you need this accessible both to trade and to get repairs. So you can see I've built a path that goes up to my systems and then goes through and loops up to my capital. It goes all the way up and around and loops back down this side. So I've got a giant ring that, well, up to here it isn't complete, but I've actually completed it through. Oh no, it is. Completes through there. I have completed it by this save. So I've got a giant ring that runs around the center of the map here, allowing me fast access to all of my colony worlds. And then on these sub areas where I can potentially get missions, I've spent just enough points to knock at least an accessible path from one of those greens that I can follow on yellow, where I'm only taking minor risks, into areas that I don't travel too often, and anywhere else I've just left alone. So I've had to spend time slowly building my own highway for travel. And yeah, you have to make those choices yourself, and you have to make a lot of those choices when you can't see all the locations of all the systems that are available on the map. Eventually, these systems will expand all the way to the edges of the map on the release game. So you'll have to build navigation paths that get you all the way up here, all the way down here, as well as the worlds in here. And how long that will take, I have no idea, but as I said, I've done 71 hours getting to the point that I'm up to just in this section at this point in time. All of my characters are level 30 now, I think, or just slightly over. So the Imperium exit is going to be for a DLC, I expect. I'm not sure if it'll be something related to the game, whether or not it will be a DLC, whether or not that'll be... You know, just as I said, I don't think all the parts for the game are actually present at this point in time. So it could be something that will be in on release, it's just not there now. But that is the point where you would come from the Imperium and enter the Coronis Expanse. Then you hit Footfall, and then there's the rest. But anyways, that is the greater map, and that's how you navigate it. And once you've built your highways, it's simply a matter of just picking your point, you do your warp. I'll get another event here, Yellow Path. That night, the Lord Captain and some of his crew were awakened by beautiful music. The sounds seemed to caress their very minds until they realized the source was their own bodies. While their teeth were chattering out of Sirocco, their tendons were being plucked like strings by unseen hands, and invisible breaths flowed through their bones, turning them into mournful flutes. The illusion ended, but for a long time afterwards, every movement made their hearts stutter in fear. Was the orchestra about to strike once more? The Immaterium released us from its grip this time. Lots of really cute, cool little ghost stories every time you jump, and I haven't seen them loop yet. I've never encountered the same one twice. So there's clearly a lot of them. But anyways, ladies and gents, at this point we have been going for probably 4 hours, so I am going to bring this one to a close and go to bed. I just wanted to show this part off because there were some questions about it before, and I think this is a really cool idea. Instead of just traveling around a map, they've worked out a way to turn the map into a bit of a tactics game. Exactly how are you going to spend your points to allow yourself to get through the game without constantly having to run into terrors of the warp? Because if you spend your points wrong, you'll be jumping through amber and red jump points to get into places all the time, and they absolutely lead to highly dangerous negative events, some of them so much so that you could potentially have your own ship destroyed. So that's pretty cool. Anyways guys, I'm going to bring it to an end. Good night, take care, and I'll see you next time.